Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the show where members of Team MagicJank get together and we talk about the latest happenings in Magic the Gathering. My name's Graham. I go by HamHawks42 on the internet, and I'm joined by the one and only Damien F16. Damien, how's it going, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Life is busy. We're heading into the holidays. I'm trying to figure out what to buy family members, etc. for Christmas. Driving me crazy. But other than that, doing well. How about you? What's new?
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, no, the holidays definitely are a thing. That's very true, and I'm with you on that. So I'm so not ready, not even close. So we'll get there, I hope. But yeah, other than that, been hanging out, and funnily enough, playing less Magic than I have in the past. So I apologize to everybody out there for the for kind of the lack of insight on the standard shakeup that has occurred since Avatar dropped. So that's actually today I want to chat about, well, Avatar coming to Arena and just how that has maybe shaken up standard, or how we're experiencing it. Funnily enough, I have not played a single game of standard since Avatar dropped, and that's wild because we're recording this the Sunday afterwards.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I've been playing limited, and so it's been fun. Actually, the draft environment I've been thoroughly enjoying, and I know you've been drafting it as well. So I definitely want to touch on that. Also, it's actually been a little bit. We didn't get an episode out last week, so apologies for that as well, everybody. So touching quickly on the standard bans, I think is worthwhile because we actually haven't talked about that yet. And so I know it's kind of old news now, but let's at least hit it and kind of chat about what's going to happen as a result of that. And was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or was that pretty much, I think that's what we had.
No, yeah. I think right now, it's such a tumultuous roller coaster ride, this game. It just so many wild ups and downs. And, we go from the Spider-Man limited set, which was widely regarded as one of the worst limited sets of all time, to another set, which, is being well received. And in the middle of that, we had this banning. We had this bizarre month and a half dead period where everybody knew the best deck was going to get banned out of the format, and so it was kind of like, what's the point? A lame duck format is basically what we call those periods.
And there were two Spotlight series during that time, which oof,
yeah, right. And their attendance was down. I mean, the Spotlight series, I don't know if you looked at the numbers. Like, it went from 1,300 or 1,400 players to like 400, 500 players for the VV ones. Like, those are the numbers that Wizards looks at and goes, okay, we need to do something about this. That said, they should have just pulled the trigger on VV when they made the announcement that they were going to pull the trigger a month and a half from the announcement date. Whatever. VV's gone. I don't think I don't know. I still had people in my Discord and stuff saying, so what's the over-under on a VV ban? And I'm just like, what? It's 100% getting banned. Like, and nobody in their right mind thinks this is not going to get banned. It's done. But the other two cards that got banned were interesting, and that was the real question. I was actually, again, like Ham said, I got to echo his sentiments. I apologize as well for not being available for podcasts, and we missed a couple weeks there. This is kind of already happened, and I've talked about this on my channel. I'm not sure. I'm sure you have.
I've definitely spoken to it quite a bit on stream. Yeah.
But one of the things I was going to ask you guys in the episode that was supposed to come out a couple weeks ago was, what do you think is going to get banned, just before the banning, other than Vivi? And boy, litany of responses. Kaito was probably number one on the list. A lot of people thought Kaito was or should be banned. Maybe not would be banned, but they thought that's public enemy number one after Vivi. We didn't see Kaito get banned. I'm pretty sure there's a couple spells that are so innocuous but so powerful. I know I've talked about Into the Flood Maw on the podcast before. I think that card is quietly one of the most powerful cards in Standard. It's such an insane card in the tempo decks, whether it's blue-white or red-blue or any of the low-to-the-ground tempo-based kind of aggressive strategies. It just lets those decks deal with anything for 1 mana. That's almost too good. Like, I played Snapcaster Vapor Snag with Delver Secrets back in Standard when that deck dominated Standard, and we were using Vapor Snag, which is just unsummon, but they lose a life, and people were already like, Vapor Snag's too good, like the tempo of going Snag into Snapcaster Snag and just keep out-tempoing your opponent, keep them off the board for just 1 mana is too much. But now we have the same thing Into the Flood Maw, but it bounces any non-land permanent. Anyway, I thought something like that might be a little bit too good, but that would be a real stretch. They don't like banning these kind of cards, right? They usually ban more, the legendary creature that's like way too good or whatever, the Planeswalker. But anyway, they didn't. They banned Screaming Nemesis. Oh yeah, you wanted to jump in
Yeah.
there?
So
I
no,
saw
you're
that
right
look.
that they tend not to ban the utility like commons and uncommons,
Hmm.
which makes sense, but at the same time, talk about a way to shake up a format though. Like if you wanted
Hmm.
all of the blue cards to remain in the format but slow down blue decks in general and make other colors and other strategies competitive, getting rid of something like Into the Flood Maw would make a massive difference. And on top of that, it's this is like $1.50, $2 uncommon. So
Yeah.
if the investment is your concern, if somebody spent $50 on something like Vivi, which granted, yeah, Vivi needed to get banned regardless. That card was just uniquely broken. But if
Right.
they wanted to say, keep Prof's Eidetic Memory in the format as a card that is a rare that maybe some people have invested in with the understanding that it would stick around. If they didn't want to ban this, which they did, getting rid of Floodmaw, I think, would be a way to keep those archetypes around and alive while slowing them down a little bit to
Yeah.
hopefully let something else catch up. But yeah, the philosophy there is interesting.
Yeah.
They tend not to do that. And
They
maybe they
tend not
should more
to.
often.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a thought.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, nobody's going to complain about it, but it will really do damage to the best deck or whatever it is that's using this card. It is just one of those cards that just it's almost too cheap for what you're getting. I mean, This Town Ain't Big Enough is similar.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that was the last time they banned a quote unquote utility card like that. But maybe
Yeah.
that one was a little too strong, and I get it. But at least there was some deck building restrictions. Like I don't know, you have to be bouncing your own stuff at the same time. It's got this whole
Yeah, but that's so easy.
what was it, like
Yeah, I mean,
appeal from
yeah,
reality effect. Yeah,
right.
but it's easy. Exactly, it's so easy.
Yes,
So yeah,
it's
I
an easy
get why
building
they
mode, but yeah.
banned that, but that was in a big slew of 7 cards. I get it, but here we see 3 cards get banned. The VV, the Profts. So what do you think about Profts? Do you think it should have been banned? Because for me, I think it probably should have. I think it's gonna just be the next prowess deck with a bunch of maybe not VV but a few other cards, creatures in there, and it's still gonna be super busted. This card really was the biggest threat in that deck after VV. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
almost too good, and we saw it be good in Jeskai Oculus before that, and there were some blue black decks running it at one point, and I think even Demir Tempo at one point when they were playing. Like there were the few different builds of tempo, right? They were playing This
Mm-hmm.
Town Ain't Big Enough at one point, and then at one point they were playing Profts. So it probably just is too good, and I'm glad to see it go. Just there's too many things that draw cards. That's really the
Yeah.
problem with a card like this. You know what I mean? There's
Mm-hmm.
everything draws a card now, whether it's an ETB or it makes a clue or So yeah, Profts ends up being too good, and I'm pretty happy they banned it. I could see an argument for not banning it, but for me, it's like it's so close to 50-50. I could see it go both ways that, you know what? Better to be safe than sorry. Let's just ban it and freshen
Mm-hmm.
things up. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I'm okay with that, and I tend to agree. I certainly this was not on my list as far as what I predicted was going to happen. I didn't see it coming at all. Like the morning of when I was streaming before the announcement dropped, people were asking about this, and I was like, "There's no way they're going to pull the trigger on Profs." I'd be shocked because my thought is that Izzet deck. The moment you remove Vivi, it loses the like big crazy like modern power level infinite or like quasi infinite top end that it could produce. And so the moment you didn't have
Right.
that like Nadu style play pattern as the finisher, like Prof still makes that deck excellent. Like it's still a tier 1 deck without the
Mhm.
VV Cauldron mix. Heck, it might actually become more consistent because you can bring in more removal and like more cheap creatures. So
Mhm.
but at the same time, I know as somebody trying to combat it, this is a little bit more narrow and a little bit more focused. So if I remove all your creatures, you having Profits down doesn't really matter. Whereas if Vivi shows up, it doesn't
Right.
really matter. If you only have one dude, I'm still dead. So
Yeah.
I was of the impression that that deck would still be excellent without Vivi, but Profs would have been like okay, but still a strong part of the deck. I'm not mad that they banned it though,
Mhm.
because I'm a big fan of cards leaving standard. Frankly, like I'm just a
Yeah.
huge fan of cards leaving standard. So honestly, like
Yeah.
I can't imagine there's anything that Wizards would be willing to ban that I'm going to be sad to see go at this point.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, if they got rid of like
it's funny,
Overlord of the Baelmerk randomly, I'd be kind of pissed about that. But like, that'd be crazy
Well,
random. But anyway,
yeah, no.
yeah.
And I think, yeah, you're right. It's just funny when you mention that. It just makes me think, back in the day, we used to dislike rotation. We didn't like when cards left. Now we're looking forward to rotation.
Please,
Everybody's
rotation.
like,
Yeah.
please rotate.
Yep.
What a strange time. But Profs reminds me of the Beanstalk. That's the problem here.
Yeah.
It's 2 mana and it replaces itself. If it was just 2 mana, then do all the other things on this card except draw a card when it ETBs, that would be much worse. That's a real cost. Now it is a do nothing. But when it draws a card on its own already, like it's already like it's free. That was the problem with Up the Beanstalk. They play Up the Beanstalk on 2, you kill it, and you're still down on that exchange. That feels bad. So
Yeah.
I think they should just stop printing cheap engine cards like this that replace themselves immediately. Like, don't let it replace itself immediately and make the player playing it get punished a little bit, or at least have it be an equal exchange when the opponent gets rid of it. Then it's a little bit more fair. So I
100%.
think, yeah.
And I feel like if this had said something like, when this enters, draw a card, then discard a card, like it would still help fuel the engine, but you're not up on the exchange. You know, like granted, then discard synergies become relevant and all that jazz. But yeah, I think that would help with what it's doing. But you know, like I can't help but think of like cards like Garruk's Uprising. You know, like this is a card where granted we're talking the difference between 2 and 3, and like this is not problematic in any way, but it's a similar kind of design and it addresses what you're saying. So this enters when it enters, if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, you draw a card. This card is designed to be a card draw engine if you have big creatures. And as a result, when it enters, it does replace itself if you've already done the thing. If you already have the big creature, you know? And so this is a perfectly fair design, I think, and something that
it is.
Yeah, like do more stuff like this. Like draw the card, but only under certain circumstances, you know, that you need to set up.
This is but but this costing 3 mana is so awkward because that's the whole problem, you know.
The quality disparity between these cards is shocking. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to say they're comparable. Because like fun fact, everybody out there, Garruk's Uprising is legal in Standard right now. Did you know? Probably not, because like nobody's playing it. But yeah,
you know what else I forgot was legal in Standard? Craterhoof Behemoth. Until someone cast it on turn 3. You can rip a turn 3 Behemoth now because of that 2-drop mythic, whatever kind of animal it is that gives Earthbend and the new Kinnan Bonder Prodigy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
so when we're talking about Standard, so at the end of the day, so these bans I think were good. They could have hit more, and I would have been okay with it. But
what about Screaming Nemesis? Hold on.
Before we fully move on. Yeah.
What do you think about Screaming Nemesis before we move on? Because that's the most contentious one.
That is the most contentious one.
A lot of people saying
I could not agree with that ban harder, and the write-up that they gave for it was excellent. I think Screaming Nemesis absolutely needed to get cut, and I love the fact that they did it and the reasons that they cited. They pointed out this is a card that is practically unblockable and it shuts down life gain. So blocking it with something large is bad for you, and it like gaining life, which is one of the best counterplays against red, consistently just gets stopped with this. So Screaming Nemesis is the reason that like a green aggro deck did not rise up to check the red decks like we've seen happen in the past, you know? And so the notion of the notion of blocking as counterplay, which if I recall correctly, was the reason that was part of the reason why a Heartfire Hero got banned, or was one of the issues that Brian Kibler cited as to why a Heartfire Hero needed to go. And so like Screaming Nemesis 100% does exactly the same thing except better, you know. And so I think if you wanted to take the entire color of red and make it weaker, and make it vulnerable to certain play patterns again, getting rid of this was critical. So I was completely on board with that. I thought it was great. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think in the end it is too powerful. My only concern is it's doing all the heavy lifting in red. When you take this card away, red just disappears now and goes back to being tier 2, tier 3, whatever it was before this kind of, like, it was really Bloomborough which put red back on the map, and then they banned 2 cards from, red, back in August. And now they're banning another great card from red. I think, because I do want red to be good. Like I think having a red aggro deck be good in a standard format is one of the important check boxes that needs to be ticked in order to say it's a good format. I think with no aggro deck, which is what we saw for years with Grixis midrange, Rafine, when all those cards were dominating standard, red was totally non-existent. There were no aggro decks because turn 3 1/4 flyer with Ward 1 that is also an engine, like the Rafine was just, and certain other cards, midrange was so good, and red just had this dearth of 2-drops. It did not have enough good quality 2-drops to be good. Now this is a 3-drop, but this is so pushed that it almost makes up for the fact that there's not enough lower stuff. So I don't know. I was just worried that maybe like this is red taking another L here. This is going to push red into unplayable, tier 2, tier 3 territory. What do you think?
Really?
Do you think red still has legs after this?
I do, actually. I absolutely do. I think it's going to be different. It's going to be a very different build than we've seen in the past. I think the Razorkin Needlehead, like Nova Hellkite, like anti-Izzet build, obviously that was going to fall off even if Scremesis didn't get banned, just because the Izzet decks are got hit so hard. So, I mean, red was going to have to change regardless. But I think the Slickshot Show-Off builds, I feel like those still are solid and still playable.
With Leyline? Is that the Leyline?
Well, yeah, the Leyline build, still? Which is a little bit, the Leyline build is one way to go. With cards like Wild Ride and Full Bore being in the format, I think open up a lot of potential still. And we also, in Avatar, we did get all the firebending cards. Read to me like they're very powerful in this kind of a shell, but we need to find exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
With the big one being
firebending.
Firebending Student being the primary one that I think reads like a secondary slick shot that, this alongside something like Wild Ride on turn 3 could be absolutely bonkers. It's a 1/2 for 2 with prowess and Firebend X, where X is its power. I've heard people it's like, what if Slickshot Show Off and Vivi got together and created a 2-drop in mono red? This is kind of what you get. Which it's not individually as strong as either of them, but it is a prowess creature that can give you a lot of mana that you can use in combat.
And it's a 2-drop, and that's what I'm talking about. Red needs this critical mass of these kind of cards in the format before it can actually compete. And like I said, you go back a couple of years, and there was this void, there was this absence of those kind of cards, or there was 2-drops obviously that exist, but none of them are quite good enough. They've got to be on this level of power or higher to really, and there needs to be a few of them usually. So of course, Bloomburrow, the mice were perfect examples of that. We didn't have anything like that until Bloomburrow for the last the previous 3 years or whatever. Anyway, so maybe you're right. I'd like to see what's going to happen here. Now, this is November 23rd. We're a few weeks after these bans, so we're going back touching on these bans. Now we've had a few weeks of standard post ban. However, we haven't had any huge tournaments. I think there was a Spotlight series, but it was modern after Avatar came out. But we haven't had any major tournaments, so there's just a few online challenges you can kind of look at. And I was taking a look earlier. I still have it up here, but most of the lists are brews. There's a bunch of different things people are trying, a bunch of weird archetypes in the top 8, top 16. You're not seeing any one deck dominate, and that's contrary to what a lot of people thought. I think a lot of people thought Dimir was immediately going to become the boogeyman of the format, and I was like, let's just I don't think we need to jump to that conclusion. Demir's been around for a long time. The deck list is basically the same deck it's been for months and months, and almost a year. Dimir really hasn't changed. They dropped Cut Down when it rotated. They picked up the 1-mana black removal spell from EOE. It's the same thing. You're trading 1 black removal spell for another 1 black removal spell. But yeah, I'm looking. There's Ouroboroi decks. I see an Allies deck popping up in the last couple challenges. Banned Allies. There's mono green Tifa, which you've seen. I'm sure I've seen a bunch on the ladder before BBB got banned. All these decks were kind of they weren't tier 1 because they were just being suppressed by the better VV deck and Dimir and stuff. But now the VV's gone. I don't think Dimir, and yes, there's a Dimir list in the last challenge, in second place here, but that's it. Jeskai Control, which I'm actually so shocked to see. I don't know. I think blue-white, or I think maybe the 4-color control deck is a better option, but lots of different decks is what I'm trying to say here. There's even a blue-red prowess deck that's been putting up results. I see a couple lists here. So basically this is similar to the VV deck, but lower to the ground. They're playing the Mako, the Fear of Missing Out, but they're playing full 4 Duelist of the Mind, another evasive 2-drop, which hasn't seen much play. The Nathan Stoyer Invitational card, it really hasn't seen much play, but it's really good with things like the new addition from Avatar, Boomerang Basics. Just
Oh
being
my
able to
goodness.
cheaply draw a card with this guy and get a tempo, get some tempo out of it. So Boomerang
Hmm.
Basics, well,
Yeah, it's a
tell us what it
lesson
does.
for one. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you control that permanent, you draw a card. So it's either,
Yeah.
you can use it in kind of a pixie style shell, or it's sorcery speed into the flood maw that doesn't give them a fish. For
Yeah,
one.
reset your Riddler, like warp in your
Hmm.
Riddler, bounce this, like trigger your Duelist of the Mind 3 times because Riddler triggers it, then the bounce spell triggers it, then
Hmm.
you get to do Riddler again next turn, and a lot of velocity, right? Drawing.
Absolutely.
You're not drawing swaths of cards the way you were with Vivi. Like you're not playing Winter Night Stories and drawing like 3 cards and flashing it back and drawing, and you're discarding at the end of the turn like the Vivi decks would.
Hmm.
But you're just this constant drip of draw, single draw, single draw, single draw. Next turn, single draw, single draw. Like the single draws keep drawing you into more single draw spells, which keep drawing you more. Like that kind of velocity is
Yes. So
still here.
you just never end with fewer than 5 cards in your hand. You just always, yeah, you've always got
Yeah.
action. Yeah, that's huge.
And you're a nice low. Actually, I was gonna say you're a nice low land count, but it's funny. A lot of these decks are playing. I think 23 is the accepted number of
Oh,
lands here, which is a
interesting.
little bit higher than what I expected. But they are a little higher on the curve. Some of them are still. I shouldn't say none of them are playing Winter Night Stories. Some of them are.
Okay.
Okay, one of them wasn't. Sorry. The other weird card they're playing is Tiger Seal, which a lot of people weren't sure if this is another Avatar card that I
Yep.
didn't think was going to be good enough for
I thought this
standard,
thing
but
was
a
solid.
lot of people,
We talked about this
yeah,
during one of the preview streams, and I thought it was I thought it was solid. I thought it had
you
potential.
did.
So yeah.
I didn't think so, and I think I'm wrong. I was wrong about this card. It probably is good enough. What does it do? If just remind
So
the
yeah,
listeners.
it is a 3/3 cat seal for a single blue with vigilance. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you tap this creature, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, you untap this creature. So it taps itself
Yeah,
down if you don't have a way to untap it. But all you need to do to untap it is draw 2 cards. And so yeah, like you're saying, a deck that is capable of just consistently
draw
like
one,
like
draw
have
one,
full of
yeah.
cantrips and ways to like get one little one off. I mean, this thing reads like kind of a modern day Delver in a deck like that. It's a 3 power 1 drop, and it has vigilance, so you can
Yeah.
even block with it consistently, which is
That's
kind of shocking.
that's it. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Because against red, like blue red, one of the tempo deck's big weaknesses is a really low to the ground aggro deck
Mm-hmm.
going under it. Because when you're playing a bunch of Into the Flood Maws and whatever the new one, Boomerang Basics, all these kind of things, bouncing a haste creature like a Screaming Nemesis back in the day or whatever is or the 2-drop mouse that has prowess and you target it, look at the top card, blah blah blah. All these kind
Mm-hmm.
of haste red aggressive creatures. You can't beat them with tempo plays because they all come back down and immediately start swinging again. This thing having vigilance and being a 3/3 on turn one is kind of a big deal. It means that the worst matchup, Mono Red, which is why we saw Mono Red do so well against Vivi. It was one of the few decks that could actually beat Vivi consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Blue red typically struggles against those low to the ground red decks. Tiger Seal plugs that hole very nicely and lets you have not only a good aggressive cheap play, but something that blocks well. Like you said, vigilance is actually a big part of the reason why I think this card's seeing a lot of play. It's sweet to see. Frostcliff Siege is a one of in these decks as kind of the way to kind of go over the top on the last turn and just push through a ton of damage, or maybe you get it down early and just start giving every single creature you play after that haste +1/+0 and trample. That's pretty powerful in a deck like
Mm-hmm.
this. Again, 2 mana for a Quantum Riddler. Oh, it gets +1/+0 trample and haste. Swing, and then and I draw a card for 2 mana, and then it goes away. I'm like,
Nuts.
oh, okay, get to do it again after. So this card actually works very nice. Now it is a clunky do nothing. That is the issue here. So you will not ever see 4 of these in a deck like this. But
No.
just one, this is the kind of card that can come out of nowhere and swing a game. So be careful. So blue red prowess still out there. A lot of green decks, which is nice to see because there's Gruul aggro, there's the Ouroboroi decks, there's mono green aggro, Simic aggro. There's a whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
green decks, which is great to see because I feel like green has been languishing in standard for quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a
But
couple years since we saw green be really excellent. I mean, the landfall package definitely was a shot in the arm for the archetype, which is cool, but I'm glad to
yeah,
see other variants. I'm glad it doesn't just have to be like Mossborn or Tifa decks. Like, you can actually mix it up beyond that, which is exciting.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So that's the snapshot of standard. Like just looking at the challenges again, there's not much else to go on here. RCQ season's over. We haven't had any big standard, spotlight series or big tournaments. So it's kind of merry or a magical Christmas land or honeymoon period, whatever you want to call it, where people are just having fun. They're experimenting. They're trying new things. You're going to see a lot of different decks out there. I know you said you weren't playing much standard these days, but I did play a few matches. I'm just playing my Jeskai Black control deck. I call it Jeskai Black. I don't like 4-color control. When people say 4-color control, it makes you sound like you're playing 4 colors evenly. That is no. It's a Jeskai control deck. You're barely touching black for Mystical Teachings, Flashback, and the inevitable defeat or whatever.
The one like the black card is a frickin' blue spell. Like it's still a blue card. It's just that anyway.
And that we used to say Abzan blue back in those Siege Rhino days when Abzan, like when you had fetch lands in the format, everybody could play 4 colors. I played Jeskai Black in those days too. It was basically Jeskai with Baby Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, flashing back like Crackling Doom was the only black spell in the deck, right? Mantis Rider, and that deck was sweet. But it's felt great. The only additions that I put in my deck are my boy George. Georgie boy. Do you know who George is? I don't know if you know this.
I'm not recalling.
I'm trying to make this name work. George from Avatar. George Wan Shi Tong. George Washington Wan Shi Tong. I don't know. I thought that was that's how I call him, George Wan Shi Tong. He's the founder of the United States. Anyway.
And he's a librarian. Yeah. All right.
And he's a librarian.
That's actually okay. I like that. It took a second. I mean, you needed to hold my hand to get there, but now I like it now that I'm here. All right.
That's why
George Wan Shi Tong.
Nobody gets it when I first say it.
That's a reach.
Tell them, they're like, okay.
All right. Yeah, that's a little bit of a reach.
Anyway,
my buddy Jolly saying, "Click." We call that a yoga joke. You really gotta stretch for it.
Do a little downward dog to get that.
Exactly.
So gorgeous George here is my boy. I've loved this guy out of the sideboard only, because I'm trying to keep the main deck creature free mostly. That's one of the big advantages of playing a creatureless control deck. I mean, I've got a couple of Tidebinders. Those aren't really creatures. They're just like a counter spell, basically, or a stifle. It doesn't matter if, because game 1, you just blank all their removal. But George comes in out of the sideboard. Oh boy. Let me tell you, this guy, nobody sees this coming. You can fetch it up with Mystical Teachings because it's got flash.
Amazing.
It's a Hydroid. Well, sorry. Do you?
Yeah. So
we read this card.
Wan Shi Tong Librarian is X blue for a legendary bird spirit, 1/1 with flash, flying, and vigilance. Which those are some sick keywords. When Wan Shi Tong enters, you put X 1/1 counters on him, then draw half X cards rounded down. And whenever an opponent searches their library, you put a 1/1 counter on Wan Shi Tong and draw a card. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Hydroid Krasis with Flash doesn't trigger on cast like Hydroid Krasis did, but is only 1 color, has Flash so you can fetch it, has Vigilance, which is really good in a control deck. So, again, you can go fetch this up, or if you naturally draw it, you flash it on their end step, just coming down as like a 5/5 draw 2 or whatever is crazy. Like a dragon that draws 2, maybe ambushes a creature, but a lot of times you're just doing it end step, and then untap and gets to play offense and defense, like evasive offense and then also defense. It was very good for me. I have one in the sideboard. I'm debating putting another one, but really it's just good against a lot of decks that have that take out a lot of their removal post board, or decks that have small ball removal, like small red removal. The only issue with this, of course, is it ETBs and triggers. So there's that moment they can kill it when it's just a 1/1 before the trigger resolves and it turns into a 5/5. That's annoying, but again, it's not too hard to set up a situation where you can flash this in when they're either tapped too low, or again, post board they've taken out their shocks against the creatureless control deck, right? So anyway, I don't think it's a main deck card, but bring it down to the sideboard. The other card I was trying was Azula, the Grixis Azula, which I don't know what her full name, the Grixis one, because I thought, okay, you know what? In my deck out of the sideboard, in the control mirror, I want another threat. And Azula, well, what does she do first?
Fire Lord Azula. Fire Lord Azula is a cracked commander card that is legal in standard. It is a 4/4 for 1 blue, black, red with Firebending 2. So on attack, you get 2 red. Whenever you cast a spell while Fire Lord Azula is attacking, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. That can trigger as many
Yeah.
times as you've got mana to do it. And that's not just non-creature spells. It's anything you
Oh,
cast
wow.
while she's attacking. I've seen so
Okay.
like George, you could double dip on George, which granted legendary, so you'd only get to keep one of them, but like, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Cast
So
any spell. What I missed actually, because I've used this a couple of times. I used it once. I think I'm only ever copying one spell, but I didn't realize you can copy multiple spells as long as you keep
uh-huh.
casting them during combat. That's
During combat.
crazy. 'Cause
I've seen people I've seen people
Yeah.
flash in like Eddie Merc crabs while she's attacking. It's disgusting. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Because what I was
So-
doing is Jeskai Revelation, right? That's the big finish in
Oh,
my
sure,
deck
yeah,
in the four Jeskai Black deck. So you swing with her. She makes so you play her on 4. You swing turn 5, make 2 mana, and you can cast the turn 5 Revelation copied, right? Double Jeskai Revelation on turn
Gross.
5. That's just GG, right? So
It has to be,
That
yeah.
was the dream. Yeah, and but again, you gotta be playing this out of the sideboard only because in game 1. If it's the only creature in your deck, it's just gonna die.
Gonna get murdered, yeah.
And you're never gonna get to do the thing because it just no ETB, like no way to give haste.
Well,
But yeah,
and-
the curve of this on turn 4 into Jeskai on turn 5 is kind of why I wanted to try it, Jeskai Revelation. And I haven't had to live the dream yet, but
That's a shockingly proactive strategy for that deck. I'm here for it. Like, please continue.
that's why.
But-
The
yeah.
sideboard. I love
Nobody
doing
sees
that.
that coming.
Game 1, turtling up,
Yeah.
right? We're control, we're blocking, we're defending.
Total
And then out
rope-a-dope,
of the
yeah.
sideboard, we juke and start swinging against the control deck or against decks that take their removal out. Oh, if I curve, suddenly
Yes.
if your opponent takes out their removal and then I drop this on turn 4, like if you're the opponent, you're like, oh my god,
Oh crap. Yeah, exactly.
if I can't kill this, I'm gonna lose this game because they're gonna
Right.
double copy either. Well, Revelation is just lights out, like that's like magma opus level, value. But even just copying consult or copy. Oh, you have 2 blockers. I copy a removal spell, kill both your guys, get in for 4, and then keep doing more and more after that.
And if that's an inevitable defeat or a lightning helix, you also have the life swings associated with that.
Right.
Like, yeah, that rules. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so it's a one of. I think it's again like Gorgeous George. They belong in the sideboard only. They come out or they come in when the opponent takes their removal out. So that's my brief little aside with my deck. I think the last thing I want to mention. I was playing. I've always loved Tidebinder. It's one of my favorite cards in Standard. I think right now Tidebinder is better than it's almost ever been, which is saying a lot because it's been good basically. I think most people don't realize how good it is. They look and go, yeah, like, okay, I can think of places where this will be good, but this is good against every single deck in the format. Every single deck, from the lowest curve aggro deck to the biggest curve control deck. Like, control is maybe where it's at its worst, but even against control, you can stifle planeswalkers, you can stifle. It's a threat to just start beating them down. It has flash, so it plays so nicely in that game where you're both holding up all your cards and mana like a control mirror. But against all the mid-range decks, it's just devastating. Like, fizzling all kinds of big triggers, like a Crater Hoof trigger, or you name it. Like, it deals with so many things. Can't be negated, can't be spell pierced against those tempo, blue-red tempo decks, just nerfing a FOMO, nerfing a whatever, like a Tursa or whatever that's gonna, draw them cards and attack you, and just shutting all that off and then getting to trade with another body. Tidebinder's gone from a 2 to a 3 to a 4. I'm playing 4 now. 2 in the main, 2 in the sideboard.
Oh, wow.
And the 2 in the sideboard come in all the time. I go up to the full 4 a lot, and it's felt awesome. So don't
Nice.
sleep on this card if you're playing blue. I recommend it. I think it's just one of the best. Like, it just the fact that it's good against every single deck in every matchup, whether you're on the play, on the draw, doesn't matter what deck you're playing against. Like, it's so hard to not play this card, to justify not playing it. I haven't heard a good argument for it yet, but
Right.
obviously if you're not playing blue, go ahead.
Yeah, well, but at the same time, right now, like, I'm pretty sure about 60% of Standard players are playing blue, so that's not an issue. But it's kind of everywhere at the moment. But like, don't underestimate the Ambush Viper action too. Like with Tursa, you can like, after on attack, you can fizzle the attack trigger and then trade, and like, so like,
And then trade.
that's and so as a result, you take no damage. Their main threat's off the board. They didn't get extra value they were hoping for off it. Like, there's all kinds of stuff
It
that
feels
you can
like a 4-for-1.
right.
Yeah, it feels like, because you add the cards that they would have drawn, and you're like, okay, so not only did I get a 3/2 you just played a 3-mana 3/3 that does nothing. Plus, I stopped you from drawing 2 cards and, like you said, triggering your other stuff and putting stuff in the yard and blah blah blah. Like
Yeah.
that's just one example. I mean, when the green player goes all in on that Crater Hoof and you tide bite it, it feels so good. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Even if they do it on turn 3, which is possible in standard now.
Which is
So
bonkers. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we can touch on that green
Let's
card. I haven't really played with it, so I can't really speak to it. I again, my deck, I kill. All I do is kill creatures. So this guy, I'm not scared of. I kill him. He doesn't do anything. But other people, heard a lot of people being like, this card's way too good.
It's
too pushed.
it's absolutely it's cracked in half. So we're talking about Badger Mole Cub. This is a 2/2 Badger Mole for 1 and a green. When this enters, you Earthbend 1, which so you turn one of your lands into a 0/0 with a 1/1 counter on it. And then whenever you tap a creature for mana, including the one you just Earthbent, you add an additional green. Part of the reason, so this sounds, if this sounds similar to like Leyline of Abundance or Kinnan, yeah, you get it. That's exactly what we're doing. We're adding additional mana, specifically for mana dorks. But this is at a time when Llanowar Elves are legal in Standard. So if you go Llanowar Elves on 1 into this on turn 2, the Llanowar Elves can then also tap for 2. And the other crazy thing about this is it's not legendary and it stacks. And so if you get multiples of these down and you are able to get multiple Earthbent, you're talking about each creature, like each mana dork you have tapping for 3. Like, and that's how you're able to do these crazy plays with, Crater Hoof and whatnot. Yeah, it's actively insane. This card is bonkers. And like, so if you don't have a 1 or 2 mana piece of removal to get rid of this thing on the spot, the amount of value that these green decks are going to be able to produce is insane. Like I can't overstate that. Like and additionally, it's also a 2/2. That's another detail that I want to point out about all the designs we're talking about right now. In the past, if they put an effect that was that busted onto a 2-drop, they would make it a 1/1. But this is getting you...
There would be a downside.
There'd be a downside. But this is literally getting you 3/3 worth of stats for 2 plus that cracked ability that can pay for itself if you sequence it correctly with some other mana dorks. Like...
Yeah. There are no downsides
I got no words,
in
man.
Ba Sing Se.
None
You know that,
whatsoever.
right?
No downsides whatsoever. It's insane, dude.
This is Magic in these days. There is no downsides to a lot of these cards. Back in the day, a lot of the creatures that were powerful had some drawback. This is just all upside. There's no, it's still a 2/2 for 2. I mean, you're just, it's a silly card. It's obviously very pushed. When it was spoiled, everybody's like, okay, well, this is going to see play in Standard. That's obvious.
Of course,
I said the same thing.
Yep.
But like to see it in action, and again, like, this is why they said they were never going to print Llanowar Elves again into Standard. And then they did. And people were like, holy crap, they put Llanowar Elves into Standard again. I hope it's going to be okay. Now, it hasn't really made a big splash in Standard. Like, there are decks that play it and they're fine. But again, green hasn't been super great. It's been overshadowed by, well, mostly red-blue, but even blue-black and other stuff. And now this guy's on the scene, and with Vivi departing, suddenly this guy's in the spotlight. He's the one that I see a lot of decks building around and just doing really busted stuff with. You're not supposed to make that much mana that quickly. This isn't Vintage Cube. So I don't know if this guy's going to stick around.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of stats So the amount of stats this thing gives you reminds me of like the Ajani from Modern Horizons 3, and its ability reminds me of Kinnan, which is one of the best cards in Brawl ever and has been cited as like a problematically strong card in a number of formats. Like, this is a standard card. This is a new standard card.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not a named character. Like that, it would be better if it was legendary or something, right? They should have pumped like... It's just weird, this innocuous... It feels like Orcish Bowmasters to me. Like, wait, these random orcs are the best card in Lord of the Rings after the One Ring? Like, are you kidding? But
right, exactly.
Badger Mole Cub, what is the over-under on... Will this card be banned in the next 12 months?
Maybe.
It just came out, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got banned in the next 6 months, 12 months.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, if this set has a VV, this is it. But the other thing about it is there are just so many insanely powerful cards in this set. You mentioned like the Bant Allies deck is seeing play. Like Wizards designed an entire standard deck and put it into a set. I've drafted phenomenal versions of that deck and they feel unbeatable. It's disgusting. Yeah, because there's no downside. Cards like South Pole Voyager, like it gains you. It's a Soul Warden that can draw you cards specifically for allies. Great Divide Guide is another example of a card that like shouldn't have the stat line it does, but it just does. This is one of the best 2-drop dorks.
He's very good.
They've ever made, and it's easy to read this. So he's a two. Was Oh well, it's not
sorry, I was
practical.
going to say,
Okay,
look
fair
at those. Look at those. No, look at those deck lists. You're right. This is
Yeah.
a 4 of in the allies decks that I was mentioning when I was talking about the
course it
challenges.
is.
There was an allies deck in the top 8. 4 of this, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really good.
'cause-
Ang isn't Ang is insane.
Yeah.
I feel like, or you go ahead, finish what you're going to say about this first. I'm already getting on to the next.
No,
thing.
you're good. But Great Divide Guide is a 2/3 for 1 and a green. He's a human scout ally, and with the text, each land and ally you control has tap, add 1 mana of any color. So we're already talking about like the floor on this is a 2/3 that can tap for mana of any color and fixes your lands perfectly, even if he's your only ally in the deck. That is already very good. Right, like we're already in
3 toughness. Why 3 toughness? He just blocks Stonewall's 2-drops.
Well, and I also find this really funny because in the show, this dude gets wrecked. He gets absolutely destroyed. So like, I get that he's big and beefy, but like, he's one of the only characters who gets like canonically injured to a point where he literally can't even move his arms. So it's like, this guy doesn't have 3 toughness.
Okay.
Granted, it was by a canyon crawler, which is a 6/6. So like, okay, but like, regardless, and he survived.
That's
so okay,
true.
maybe I'm being a little harsh, but regardless,
It's still annoying on turn 2, 3 toughness. I mean,
It's
that's
wild.
that Stonewall's a lot of small stuff, and then ramps you and pretty crazy. But the allies, I mean, they really pushed allies. You played limited. We're gonna get to limited very shortly
Yeah,
here
we
for
will.
those of you wondering. But in limited, it's so easy to get enough allies for if you want them that it almost feels like it's not even something you have to go for. Like it's something I don't even pay attention to while I'm drafting. And I just pack 3, I'll get past a 2 mana uncommon whatever, and I'll go, oh, this guy cares about allies. How many allies do I have? And I look at my list. Oh, 11 allies, 10 allies randomly just because I'm white, blue, or white, green, or some combination of bad colors, and it's just, and I'm like, oh, I wasn't even prioritizing these, but somehow every card that's worth playing is an ally. They really pushed it hard, and when they do that, you see it show up in standard. Like there's an allies deck in standard that's quite good. I think the last card I wanted to touch on maybe before we go to limited is the Ang, the various Angs. There's a couple of them seen play in this allies deck. But when they print a card, like a couple of them have the airbending thing, right? There's the water bending guy, there's the airbending guy. The airbending guy with Appa.
Appa,
Is it Abba?
Appa.
Yeah, those Appa. Those two together, it's so obvious that Wizards wanted this to be like some kind of combo here, right? With when you can blink your thing. So there's a whole bunch of combo decks playing like the Ang and the Appa that are like blinking each other, making infinite 1/1s. There's another card in there that reduces cards you cast out of exile by 2.
Doc Orlock,
so essentially making it free. Doc, that's right. Doc Orlock. So once you have those 3 going, you get to infinitely loop the Ang and the Appa and make infinite 1/1s. Appa makes 1/1s when you cast things out of exile. This guy makes it free to cast your airbend stuff. So there's these kind of combo decks. Like it's almost like they deliberately seeded these into standard. Like they wanted this, infinite combo deck. Now, we can talk about how good that deck is. I'm not sure if it's that great just because you combo off, make infinite 1/1s, and then you have to pass the turn. Like it doesn't actually can't kill them that turn, which is a huge problem. Some people are splashing Imidane's Recruiter in that deck, which is like now you're throwing a 4th color in there or whatever. But it'll be interesting to see. The allies deck that's been doing well online in the challenges is not playing the combo with Appa. It's just playing Ang, Swift Savior, the 4-color Ang, the 3/3 flyer that ETBs, and you look at the top 5. It's playing a couple different ones, but all these cards are very pushed. We knew the namesake character of the entire series was going to be pushed. I've talked about this with Universes Beyond many times. Like we're going to see this happen every single time a Universes Beyond set comes out. I just hope it's not pushed too hard. I feel like none of these are too busted, but what do you think about the Angs? I don't know.
So there's Ang at the Crossroads is the five color Bant, or the 3 color, like the Bant 5-drop. I've seen a number of combo decks using that, and like, okay, it's powerful, it's strong, but it's expensive. So it's one of those where like, yeah, if you get me with that, okay, so be it.
Mhm.
Ang Swift Savior seems kind of cracked to me. I've played this a number of times, and I've played a handful of decks with it. And like the Appa combo, like you're talking about, like yes, there's an opportunity there maybe. And like it's weird that Doc Arlock's playable now because he went from like this really obscure like signpost uncommon from Thunder Junction that was meant to like work with plot that nobody cares about, and now all of a sudden is like a combo engine piece, like a kill on site target, which is wild, but. Good for him, I guess. Dude got an upgrade.
Moving up in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I think Ang Swift Savior is kind of cracked. 2/3 Flash Flyer. The other thing that I take issue with Ang's, this is the most. I'm picking this. This is the biggest nit for me to pick. Ang is an ally. Ang's type line being ally, I think, is a little silly because he is the avatar. The allies are his team. They're people who are allied with him. So I think if they wanted, they could have justified not including the ally type line on the Angs to make that deck a little less like so that he doesn't trigger all the things. That's a big old nitpick. Yeah. But like
they could have.
They could have justified it.
They wanted
him to be in the deck, like unquestionably. So there you go.
He's getting pumped. The other, it's playing 4 of that white-green legend that pumps all your allies or allies ETB with a counter or whatever. Like, so yeah, you're right. But I guess, I don't know, I could see, the other people are allying with him, but he's still one of their allies.
Yeah,
right? Like,
I suppose.
Would refer to him as an ally. I think it still makes sense, but
yeah, it's fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just trying to figure out some way to power this crap down. So Ang Swift Savior, I've had the privilege. I was in, I've done like 6 or 7 drafts at this point, which for me is like normally the time when I'm like tapping out of a set, and I'm so not done with this one, which is that's saying something, right? Like this incredibly powerful set has produced a limited environment that I'm having fun with, so that's neat. But I think Ang Swift Savior is nuts. I've got the privilege of drafting this. Like I've picked this card up at least twice in drafts so far. Once. Pack 2, pick 6. I have no clue what everybody else in the pod was in, but it's like if you're not splashing for this, I don't know what to tell you. And I was already in the Azorius Allies deck when that happened, and it's just like, okay, like wow, it was disgusting.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe you did a great job cutting white and blue, and that could have been part of it.
Possibly, yeah. No, and
maybe
that deck,
drafter.
I got so lucky that time. It was ridiculous. Well, I need to share the list sometime because
let's talk about it. Let's talk about limited. Tell me. So now let's move on. So Avatar draft's been great. A lot of people love it. What has your experience been?
So I've been thoroughly enjoying it. The ally package is insane, and you're exactly what you're saying. Like a good card in those colors not being an ally is the exception. Like if you're drafting any kind of white or green, there's like the Curious Farm Animals and like the 5-drop like Earth Soldier Warrior. But past that, pretty much they're all allies.
Right.
Like it's kind of nuts. Yeah. And so like so the ally package is insane, and like there's no reason not to dip into it if you get past any of these powerful effects. Ang Swift Savior also combos beautifully with there's the Appa that you mentioned. There's the 4-drop Mythic Appa, but there's also the uncommon one, Appa Loyal Sky Bison, which for me, I mean this one like if I'm in a pack with a dud rare, I'm genuinely looking at this as a pack 1 pick 1. This card is insane. I've done some phenomenal stuff with this. Yeah, Appa Loyal Sky Bison, 4/4 for 6 with flying, which like that already, like 4/4 for 6. I'm about to tell you it's good. Yeah. Whenever Appa enters or attacks, you choose one. Target creature you control gains flying until end of turn, which, all right. Or airbend another target non-land permanent you control. And when you have Ang Swift Savior and this Appa, you create an infinite loop where you can airbend, or you create an airbend one thing every turn. And so if your opponent is investing heavily into like an earthbend land, just just stop it from being a creature and remove all the counters, like every single turn. So like earthbending just kind of stops when you get that going, which is insane. You also have flyers.
Yeah.
And Appa Loyal Sky Bison can also give another creature flying, which is insane. And the Ang that we're talking about also has a backside. So Ang Swift Savior, 2/3 for 3. Also note, we're talking about an uncommon and a rare. Like that's not that hard to find. Like it's relatively reasonable. Ang Swift Savior, by the way, pack 1, pick 1, just make it work. You could be in Rakdos if this is your pick 3, pack 1, just grab it and figure it out. Like this card's insane.
That might be a bit much.
It's a little bit of a stretch, maybe. But like if you're playing in pod, cut it though. Like
just be careful.
Yeah, I hate draft it.
There's I love all the
Anyway,
bendings. I like to talk about the set,
yes,
from a wider kind of like zoomed out perspective. The
yeah,
bendings are all great, but let's just go back down to the airbend specifically. What I found
yes,
very strange about airbending is, like, for example, your two card combo there, Ang Swift Savior and
yep,
the Appa,
Appa,
the 6 mana Appa.
yep,
Um, One of them only airbends your permanents,
mm-hmm,
any non-land permanent, but you must control it, which means you can't bounce those earthbend lands or anything. You need the rare to do it, or the
yep,
uncommon, the mono white Ang.
yes,
But yeah, like I said, the other Ang or the other cards with airbend will airbend your opponents. Or for example, this Ang Swift Savior says specifically creature. That, you know what? So some airbending does non-land permanents, some
yep,
does only creatures or spells, some does only permanents you control, some does stuff that your opponent controls. All of it's airbending. So it's
mm-hmm,
very frustrating, especially when you're new to the set and you're trying to parse all of this. Be very careful when you're reading the airbend cards. You might go, I'm going to do this and airbend their guy and blah, blah, blah. And then you play Appa and you go, oh, damn it, I
oh,
can't
dang it,
target their permanent. Wait, my last airbending could target theirs. Like, oh, this can't do it. Like that is super.
mm-hmm,
There's been a bunch of these little corner cases, then not just with airbending, but other cards where across the mechanic, this is just one mechanic, just airbending, but it doesn't work the same from card to card to card. They all seem
yep,
to work differently. Be very careful with that. That's my only warning there. But very powerful airbending. I
oh
love
yeah,
firebending. Firebending's been awesome. I don't think we've seen a mechanic quite like this ever, and I love it because normally free mana's danger zone.
mm-hmm,
That cub, the badger mole cub, for example, or other things
yeah,
that delve or domain, leyline binding, all these things that let you play things for way cheaper than the number in the top right corner. It's a big problem. Whenever they flirt with design like that, it ends up flirting with disaster. But
mm-hmm,
firebending feels fair, yet very powerful. It
mm-hmm,
creates a ton of interesting gameplay decisions. Yeah, firebending, of course, the ability that when the creature with firebending attacks, you add red mana equal to the firebending cost. You can only use that mana during combat. It makes for some really, really interesting plays, and it makes for some really interesting deck building decisions. Things like the 2 mana combat trick. It's a red combat trick. It's one colorless, one red. Give a creature +3/+1. Make a clue. Um, I can't remember what it's called. I can never
cunning,
remember, especially the
cunning
commons.
maneuver,
You're a genius. Yes, cunning maneuver. Thank you. That card specifically would be unplayable or very bad in most limited formats. But
mm-hmm,
in this format with firebending, because not only does it let you use the 2 mana to cast the combat trick in combat, it gives you another thing to another 2 mana on. Because I'm telling you, so many games where I have a bunch of firebending, I actually don't have enough to do with it. A lot of times I end up not using the mana because I have creatures in hand or I don't. So really, like, leaning into firebending by playing a bunch of these kind of combat tricks and things that you normally wouldn't. I think cunning maneuver might be the best combat trick to play, other than just a great removal spell or something. Just because it gets you multiple ways to dump that mana, and that is
mm-hmm,
not very easy to do in one card. So anyway, firebending's been great. Waterbending's been pretty good. Earthbending's been very powerful.
mm-hmm,
I think earthbending might be the best bending. It's either earth or fire, probably. But I mean, they're all really good. I think
oh
waterbending
yeah,
might be the worst. But yeah, the earthbend stuff has all been very powerful, and again, super interesting in the games. Like, do I make a 2/2, or if I already have a land, do I pump the land? Like, the decisions onto whether around whether to put all your counters on in one thing and make it huge, especially when you have fight spells or you have other stuff, versus let's go wide. Like, green doesn't normally go wide, but hey, if you're a green white deck and you're playing stuff that pumps the team, like, the versatility there makes it so interesting.
mm-hmm,
I think it's great. I think almost everything with a bend ability on it, whether it's earthbend, airbend, firebend, all of them are playable. If you see a
mm-hmm,
card with a bending, you should probably be playing it. Almost every card with a bending ability is not only good but usually great, and the more of them you have, the better. So I don't know if I had to rank them. I think I might put firebending 1, earthbending 2, then airbending, waterbending? What do you think?
Oh, I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know.
mean, I'm
Have you
kind
ever
of,
ranked
yeah,
them?
I can kind of agree with that. But it's tough to rank them because they're all doing such
It's
unique
tough.
things. Because it's really, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, there's certain players, like there are certain Timmy players who are like, Earthbending's the greatest. Why would you want to do anything else? I don't get it. Whereas more controlling players might look at some of the airbend stuff and be like, this is phenomenal. Why would you want to do anything else?
Mhm.
Because they touch on such different play styles. I think I'm inclined to agree that waterbending probably doesn't. It probably has the least amount of like really splashy, paradoxically, splashy payoffs. You know.
Yeah.
That said, I have definitely used a couple. Like there are a couple of cards with waterbending that are phenomenal. Like
Yes.
Katara, Water Tribe's Hope, is another one that I picked up in that crazy
Oh,
bonkers Bant ally deck.
God.
This thing has
I need to
waterbending.
open like you. You open the bombs. I haven't had this card
Dude,
yet. I haven't even
this,
seen it.
it's so
Yeah.
good. This card's phenomenal. Well, you're seeing it because in the pods where you are, people understand not to pass this card. See, I'm not in those pods apparently. It's great.
Maybe.
Uh, it was me
Yeah,
and
it's
7
Spanish
people who
is
just
a
installed
banger.
Arena that day. Apparently, that we're drafting that. It was wild. But Katara,
Nice.
Water Tribe's Hope. 3/3 for 5 with Vigilance, and when she enters, you make a 1/1 ally creature token. Waterbend X. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. X can't be 0. Activate only during your turn. And so
Yeah.
when you've gone wide, being able to attack with all your mana open and maybe a couple of clue tokens lying around or whatever, and just or creatures with vigilance, you end up in a scenario where it's just like my entire board are 8/8s. Like what do you block? Like it's bonkers.
Yeah, that
So
ability
yeah,
is nuts. Now, this is a rare, but even
yeah,
at the common and uncommon level, I'm a big fan of waterbending. I ranked it
hmm
last because I think most players will not like. I think waterbending is the trickiest mechanic to maximize its potential, and most players will not be able to do it. Whether it's they didn't build the right deck to do it, or they didn't go all in on this, or even in game when you're like. One of my favorite cards in the set is the 3 mana submersible, the Man of War vehicle
yeah,
that comes down and bounces a creature.
shockingly good.
I, you know, a bunch of other waterbend, like you have to tap the thing, but the things with waterbend 3 or waterbend 6 or whatever, where you don't have to tap the permanent with waterbending, you can just play it, and even if it's summoning sick, you can tap it for its waterbend ability the turn you play it. Makes this so ridiculous. I kind of missed that at first. I love Mana Wars. Everybody who knows anything about Limited should know how powerful it is to put something on the battlefield and remove one of your opponent's things at the same time. But the fact that you can play this, have just like one creature and one land left over, and use this to tap to exhaust itself with the other 2 permanents, like the turn you play it, so that you can untap and have this 3/3 ready to go. So many games that's been fantastic. Not to mention like Katara, you brought up the rare one, but the uncommon one is very good too. Just 6, and so again, no tap, like
hmm
6 colon I was gonna say waterboarding, water bending 6 colon, and just
hmm
immediately use it the turn you play it, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out, how many permanents do I have to leave up, including my land. I can't. Like a couple of people even in my channel were like, "Oh, waterbending, I'm not too high on it." And then I'm like, you can tap your mana to do this. You don't just have to tap artifacts and creatures. And then they're like, "Wait, what? You can actually? Oh yeah, okay, because you're just those artifacts and creatures are helping you to pay for the 6. You can
hmm
obviously just still pay mana. As soon as you kind of understand that, then you start sculpting the game in such a way where you're leaving up just enough mana, just enough permanents to do all the things. Makes waterbending very powerful, but I think it's the least intuitive ability to use well. I think it takes a
hmm
lot of thinking and planning and figuring out. It's math. You're figuring out how many permanents. Like I need to leave a blocker back so I can block, tap to waterbend instant speed, blah blah blah. Do those kind of things. Makes it really powerful, and I think the really good players are seeing a lot of success with waterbending, whereas a lot of other players I think are immediately saying, "Oh, it's the worst ability." So I put it at the end because I think it's the hardest to use, but I think it actually secretly is better than some of the other. Like I think it might be better than I don't know, or as good as earthbending or airbending at least. But you have to play accordingly, and it's
hmm
complicated. It's hard to play this and maximize it. Um,
Totally.
so I've liked all the bendings. I think they're all great. I think and color rankings. I know in early access we did our 24-hour stream. I drafted I think almost 20 times this set,
Nice.
and right away after that first day, people are like, "What do you think? What's the best color?" And I'm like, "I think it's white. I think white is the best color." And then sure enough, this week I was listening to, I think limited level ups. He said white he thinks is the best color, and I'm like, okay, good. At least I'm not way off. Sometimes I say these things and I'm like, oh, they don't line up with a lot of the other content creators. But when everything lines up, it's like, okay, good. I wasn't too far off here. I think white is the best color. I think blue is probably second, but it's so close between the other, like blue, black, or blue, red, and green are all very so similar in terms of power. I think white is slightly above those three, and then there's black in this format, which is a really weird color. Normally, when we get a set and it's each color gets a different mechanic. Oh, except screw you! Like this one color gets no mechanic. So a lot of people are like, oh, black's the worst. Black has to be the worst, right? It's got no bending. I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people are immediately coming out and saying black's the worst color, but I've had great success with black decks. I love the black-white sacrifice deck is fantastic, built around that white-black enchantment, Toll's End, I can't remember what it's called, but had a couple of those. Damn, that thing is an engine. It's very easy to find ways to sack without bending over backwards and sacking things you don't really want to sack. And, there's so many great ways to sack there's clues everywhere, which is great. This turns itself on, which is great. But there's so many great ways to sack in white, black, red, black. It's also been very good. I splashed this in a red, black deck, was good. But, yeah, so I think black is good. The removal is good. I think the uncommons and the rares are very powerful, but the commons are a little weak in black. Like the creatures are a little weak, and there's no bending to kind of synergize them all. Like have them be greater than the sum of their parts, so they end up suffering a little bit. But in the right deck, I think the 2-drop Corrupt Connoisseur, or I can't remember what he's called. The 2-drop,
the Corrupt Court Official,
the Virus Beetle, Corrupt Court Official. Yeah. The latest version of
classic.
Virus Beetle, Burglar Rat, whatever. Yeah, this card goes up and down depending on the format. Some formats it's very good. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, when you're ninjutsuing, this has never been better. This format, it's much worse, but at the same time, in the sack deck, again, if you build those decks accordingly, this guy's been solid. Like he provides blocker and then sack and then fodder for other stuff and gets a card. Never trades without getting a card. And so I don't know. I think black is getting maligned a little unfairly. I think it's better than people say, but right now a lot of people are saying it's the worst colors. So okay, that's all I wanted to say. So I'm gonna throw it back to you. What do you think here? The color rankings, with the colors. What do you think about what's good, what's bad?
I'm inclined to agree with pretty much everything you said. That said, I've had good success with black as well, and I believe I even did a genuine mono black deck at one point because I got my hands on the Cat Gator that was fun.
That guy's awesome. There's people who are like, this can't be good, right?
I love it.
It's corrupt.
Yeah, so Cat Gator is a corrupt with lifelink for 7, and it's great. It deals damage to any target equal to the number of swamps you control. So it can be removal and life gain if you need it. It can be your kill shot. I think this card's way better than it looks. Like you look at a 3/2 for 7, you're like, what? But I've had a lot of fun times with this. So no, I'm inclined to agree. I think like white. I feel like white and blue. Like the Bant, like the Bant colors with the ally setup. I mean they built a powerful standard deck in those colors. The limited archetype is going to be good. Like it just is. But yeah, I think black is probably the least sexy of all the colors because it doesn't have the bending, or it doesn't have a dedicated bending. But at the same time, we're talking about a format where we have like Epic Downfall and Heartless Act got reprinted into standard. Can we stop for a second and just talk about that?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I gotta say the image of the Sandbenders like tying up Appa for a Heartless Act flavor's on point, beautifully done. Because it's funny, you meet those guys and they're like, oh, they're kind of neutral, like maybe we like them, but they kidnap Appa, and it's like, no, all of them must die. That's unacceptable. They're all evil. We hate
Appa.
them. Yeah, no, Appa's the best. So yeah. Anyway,
Ham having some mic trouble there. For those of you listening, Ham's cat is rubbing his face on the
her face on the mic stand. So yeah, if you're hearing that, that's my cat Peas Blossom.
That's hilarious.
Yes, she's here saying hello.
Sorry. Anyway, I digress. I see cute cat. I get derailed.
Well, it was funny when I was first streaming. She would just kind of jump up, and I was like, man, how am I going to make content with this cute cat on me all the time? I've learned to just put an extra camera on her. Yeah, she is the content, of course. You're making content for the internet. Put the cat in frame. That's what you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no.
Yeah.
Another black card that actually I've had phenomenal success with that is like shockingly good is Judy, one of many.
Oh yeah.
I think
Yep.
Judy's legit. I've had some really good times with this card because
Yeah.
so Judy is a 2/2 for 1 and a black with pay 1 black, tap, surveil 1, create a token that's a copy of this creature, then sacrifice an artifact or creature. Activate only as a sorcery. You can literally just sacrifice the thing like you can sacrifice herself to her ability because she spots you a copy. And so if you just need to like set up your draw and dig, you can. Like that's an option. The fact that you don't actually need anything else lying around. If you do have things lying around, nice. You can turn clues into 2/2 bodies if you want, or you can upgrade 1/1s, or and you get untapped 2/2s. I don't know. I feel like this card is actually quite good, and if you can get multiples of them, you
I
can
agree.
like make sure that you draw exactly what you need at exactly the right time. It's pretty cool.
The weirdest part about this card, I think it might be the only time I've ever seen a named character on a card and it's not legendary. It's bizarre. I
Which
get it. I know why
it's
it's not
flavorfully,
legendary. If
yeah,
it
that
was, it
tracks.
would be useless. But
Yep.
yeah, you can play this and then start sacking clues to make copies. I've had a bunch of 1/1 tokens off tolls end or whatever that enchantment was,
Mm-hmm.
just start upgrading them to 2/2 slowly, turn after turn. Once you have 2 Judies, now you can upgrade 2 tokens. Then you have 4 Judies. Then you can upgrade your other tokens. And here's White Lotus, whatever, make more tokens and turn them into 2/2s. It's very slow and grindy, but I'm just
It
saying
is.
you can make
Yeah.
an army of these things, and because they're surveilling every time, it is kind of filtering your draws and stuff. Yeah, it's a good one. And again, baseline 2/2 for 2. There is no downside. So
Yep. No,
and
no
it
downside
goes
is
around
bossing say.
late.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. I see this card go, often on the wheel and stuff, which is
Yep.
again, I don't know if it's people like knee-jerk reaction, their aversion to black because it doesn't have a bending and they think it's the worst color or what, but a lot of these good black uncommons will come around. So when I see a signpost like that white black enchantment or
Mm-hmm.
some reason to get into the black sack deck, I like moving in because I have a high confidence that this kind of thing will wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing is the fact that you do sacrifice, Judy every turn or something to like the fact that it's a sacrifice outlet. Your what are the heartless piddle or the pitiless the pilferers or whatever the pirates that get counters every time you sacrifice things, those go up with this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right.
The pursuit enchantment sees these sacrifices. Like all of the sacrifice synergy in this set just makes this even better. Now I do think it's the Orzhov sack deck, it's very easy to build a bad version of it. Like if you don't
Oh
get
yeah.
something like Judy, it's really rough. But if you do get something like this, it
Well,
can really supercharge the whole engine. Yeah.
yeah, but I think this is not the card that puts me into that archetype. Like
Fair enough.
this is
Yeah.
the enabler, this is one of the gears in the machine, but it's not the heart or the brain of the machine. I think the key core piece is still, it's got to be that white black enchantment. That's
Yeah.
really what pulls me in. But it is a synergy deck. So and people have asked me like, so what do you think of this set? What is like on a 1 to 10, what is it? And how fast is it? And all these questions we ask ourselves. Like one of the first things you should ask yourself when approaching any new format is, on the spectrum from Prince to Pauper, where does this fall? And when we talk about a Prince format, we're referring to a format where a lot of the rares, not mythics, but just rares, are game warping. Like
Mm-hmm.
the rare comes down and just, it's almost impossible to trade with it fairly. It comes down too early in the game for you to do anything about, or it immediately triggers late in the game. And like a good example of these things are like Dreadfast Demon, Toxrill, a card that they cast and then immediately triggers on the same turn they cast it and does something huge. And by the time you get to untap, it's almost too late to do anything about this. Or cheap examples like Wedding Announcement, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Halana and Elena. Like there's been many at
Mm-hmm.
rare that are too strong at rare for 3 mana. Like that at that point in the game, you're never trading 1 for 1 with a card like that, and it's just gonna take over the game unless you can immediately kill it, put yourself down on the exchange, and then try and win from there. It's very hard. Um,
Yeah.
the cat's she just looks like she's eating your mic stand or your boom
Yeah, because she
arm.
kind of is. That's
It's funny.
yeah.
Um, but
Okay.
yeah, so I think it's on the spectrum of Prince to Pauper. I think it's very much a Pauper format. I think there are some very good rares, but most of the real game warping ones are mythic. There's a couple of rares that are good, just rare, but they're hard to cast. A lot of them are 3 colors or whatever, like Aang and stuff like that. But
Right.
many of the rares are like, I don't know, like 3 mana 2/3 flying bird that ETBs and eats something from their yard, or 4 mana 3/3 flyer that lets you water bend your next spell. And like a lot of these rares are not that, like, they're good. That's better than your
Yeah.
average common and uncommon, but that's not a bomb. Like, these aren't
No.
bomb rares. I think the majority of rares are not bombs. Are there still guards you're going to lose to when they play them? Yes. I think the number one card in the format for me is the 2 white mana X, make X 1/1 ally,
Oh
white
my
sorcery.
good.
That is very hard to beat.
Yeah, I don't think
But
I don't think I've
it's a
seen
mythic.
anyone lose after playing that card. It's
Yeah.
disgusting. But yeah, but that's a
It's
mythic.
mythic.
And it's like, okay. Like,
The cycle of sagas are very powerful. The white saga that's like Elspeth conquers death, comes down, eats a thing. That's another card I've got to mention. So anyway, the cycle of sagas, they're all really, really good.
They're all quite
busted,
good, yeah.
whatever. The black one's insane. The green one, but this Legend of Yang Chen.
Yeah.
Do you want to read it? I'll let you
I'd be
read it
happy
first,
to.
Then I want to talk about.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Legend of Yang Chen is a mythic enchantment saga for 3 white. Starting with you, each player chooses up to 1 permanent with mana value 3 or greater from among permanents your opponents control. Exile those permanents. Chapter 2, you may have target opponent draw 3 cards. If you do, draw 3 cards. And then on Chapter 3, you exile it and return it transformed, and you get Avatar Yang Chen, who is a colorless 4/5 flying avatar. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, airbend up to 1 other target non-land permanent.
Even your opponent's stuff, yeah.
You can
But
be
the
your
real
opponent's stuff.
tricky part,
Nuts.
you flip this, you win the game. But the
100%.
real tricky part is the first stage.
Yep.
Starting with you, this is commander card, obviously.
They
right?
templated it for
like
commander,
all
yeah,
these
100%.
mythics are now, yeah. So
Yep.
What trips people up here, if you've never played with conspiracy cards like Council's Judgment, anything with Will of the Council, where you pick something and then your opponent has to pick something, and you've got to read very carefully here, because whatever gets chosen by each player will be destroyed, or is it exiled? Exiled in
Exiled,
this case. So it says, starting with you, each player chooses up to 1 permanent. But the number of times it's happened to me before, I've already seen on Reddit and elsewhere people posting like, dude, PSA for you people out there who play against this card. If your opponent casts this card, they choose first. They're going to choose your best creature or whatever. Just hit submit 0. The way it shows up on Arena, this card ETBs trigger on the stack. Opponent is deciding, okay, they choose a thing. And now it passes priority to you, and it says at the bottom right, submit 0, which you can click something, it'll go submit 1, click something else. You don't have to submit anything. It's up to 1. So you should always just click submit 0. The way Council's Judgment and a lot of these conspiracy cards used to work, you would have to select the same thing as your opponent in order to not get them extra value by eating 2 things. So you could also select the same thing your opponent selected, but the way it shows it on Arena is so vague. Like, when you play this, when your opponent selects a card, the first time that happened to me, I was going, wait, what did they select? I can't even tell. I hover over the card on the stack, the trigger on the stack, and it doesn't show the arrow going to the permanent they selected. So I'm like, what? How do I even know? Because it's not a target, right? It's up to, so it doesn't show the arrow. But the little goofy,
there's a slight
glowy,
little, like, little
it's so
swirl.
faint.
It's
so
not
faint.
super clear,
On
yeah.
I'm on a 31-inch monitor here, and I had to go like, oh yeah, I think that's what they selected. Like, I'm like squinting at the screen. If you're on
Right.
mobile, you'll just be like, what? I can't even tell what they picked here, or I don't know. So
Yeah.
be very careful when you play against this card, and your opponent chooses something. You might not be able to see what they chose. You might not know, whatever. Just submit 0. Always submit 0. It's up to 1 permanent. The number of times I've seen people or heard of people clicking on, because they think they have to select something, and they click on something else, and then your opponent gets to eat 2 things. Oh, like
It's brutal.
because if you have a 2-drop and a 3-drop, the 2-drop will be grayed out because you can't select it, and the 3-drop will be lit up because it's a valid target. And so I think the game kind of, like, especially for newer players, it kind of makes it seem like you have to select like one of these lit up cards, otherwise you can't proceed here. Just submit
Right.
0. Anyway, that's my only PSA here. It's already
important.
happened a lot to people, so
and
careful with that one.
I've cast this and watched my opponent sit there for like a minute and I saw that my card's glowing, and it's like, no, you can't pick my stuff, dude. I know you want to, I get it, but yeah.
There's always a pause there after you
Yep.
click your thing, and it's like, hey, will this opponent know what to do here? Are they gonna give me a 2-for-1 on top of all the other stuff?
On
I
top of
get from
everything
this?
else.
Anyway,
Yeah, exactly. Oh my
this
goodness.
cycle of mythics is busted. There's some mythic
They're
busted
nuts.
rares, but to get back to my point, it is a pauper format, not a prince format. I find most of the
Yeah.
rares are not game warping rares like, Ugins and Sieges and all these other, things that are hard to interact with. And so what does that mean? Well, when it's a pauper format, it really is a synergy based format. The best decks, my 7-win decks have been no rares, 1 rare, like mediocre rare. They were just all good commons and uncommons that were all on theme, like doing all the sack stuff or doing the, aggressive draw 2 in one turn. Like I had a blue-black kind of, it wants to draw 2 every turn to keep triggering those otters. The blue 2-mana otter that becomes unblockable 3/3 when you draw
Oh
your
my
second
goodness, that was
card.
the thing. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I had
That's
a really low to the
I
ground
underestimated that.
blue-black deck that was
the
very good.
the otter penguin. I've underestimated this hard. It's shockingly good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
This with Tio on turn 3, and then you get to attack. Tio draws you that card automatically when it attacks, triggers all these other guys before blocks, lets them all be unblockable. Like the Messenger Raven is another one where you get a bunch of these cards that let you make clues or draw 2, and you can have these aggressive decks. Anyway, my point is you don't need rares. You get enough synergy. Firebending's another deck where you can get a 7-win deck and not have a single rare, and your deck is a banger because all the commons and uncommons are so, like the Firebending Student and a couple of the red uncommons, and that's all you need, and get some good removal. So my advice is approach it like a pauper format. Build synergy decks. Try and build your decks with maximum synergy in mind. Allies obviously is another archetype. The sack deck we talked about. Like all these decks, they don't care about bomb rares. If you get a Legend of Yang Chen or whatever in your allies deck, hell, okay, great, we're gonna play it. But that's not the bread and butter of the deck. Like you want to be playing all the cheap allies, all the stuff that cares about triggering allies, blah blah blah, and you're gonna have a great deck. It doesn't matter that you're you don't have any bombs. But so I love it. I think pauper format's great. I think the mechanics are good. I think all the colors feel pretty good. I don't think, another problem with a lot of formats sometimes is one color feels like it's been left by the wayside and, is clearly worse than all the other colors. I think black is the early front runner for that role in this format, but I think that's hyperbole. I don't think black is like green in Battle for Zendikar or what's another example? I don't know. Some of the sets where one color was just unplayable, basically. This set doesn't feel like that. So I think it feels good. I don't think it feels that complex. I think sets like Final Fantasy, I think sets like Duskmourn were more difficult to draft and play well. I think they had so much more going on that I don't know. I found them to be much more complex formats. This is almost like a little bit closer to core level power. Again, maybe because it's more of a pauper format. The bendings and stuff you can do really tricky stuff with, but for the most part during the draft, you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to be allies. I'm going to be sack. I'm going to be the firebending deck. Like you're almost getting into the archetypes based on which bending you're trying to maximize. So it almost feels a little bit like, not linear, but there's less splashy stuff going back and forth, like with multicolored decks and 5-color decks and all kinds of other stuff. Doesn't make it a bad format. I just think for me overall, it's just a good solid 7 out of 10. I could see maybe going up to 7.5 because some of the mechanics are like the bendings are cool. But so great, like just good solid set. I don't think it's going to be one of the best of all time, but it's definitely not a bad set. Or a mediocre set. I think it's just solid. So what do you think? Do you want to give a rating or?
I'm inclined to completely agree on all the points, and I think the idea that drafting it is actually not as challenging as other sets is a huge benefit because we talk about Universes Beyond being an entry point for new players, and I love the idea that like somebody getting into Magic for the first time because they're an Avatar fan and they really like these Avatar cards. Like, yeah, after you've played a couple of like, one-on-one standard games or whatever, just to kind of, or play through the color challenges on Arena or whatever to try to get a basic understanding of the game. The idea that you could go into a draft and like, maybe have a buddy help or whatever, but for the most part, like you can just do it. Like the idea that drafting isn't this crazy thing that you really need to like study up for with this set is awesome. I love that. So I think the ability to like encourage somebody who's relatively new to the game to actually start drafting is huge. I think that's fantastic.
That's a great point.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a great. I would love to see Universes Beyond focus on that going forward. Have it be less powerful, because for new players, less complex, less pushed, and then we don't have to worry about VVs and things like that breaking the competitive constructed environments, right?
Yeah.
But I agree. I like that it's a little bit lower powered. I think that's fun. I like playing Battle Box and other low powered format where you're eking out small advantages. That's where skill comes in. That's where real skill comes in, because it doesn't take much skill to draw Ugin and play it. And then everything else that happened in the game up to that point doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how badly you played, how many mistakes you made. Ugin fixes or whatever the bomb is, talks real or whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think it's good. I think the set's fun, and I recommend going out to draft it. Oh, I will say I did dabble in sealed, and it's funny. This is going now. They went back to this mechanic where, if you went to pre-release, you know this. They give you a seeded pack when you choose your sealed pool, and you get to choose a single color seeded pack: white, blue, black, green, red. You choose one of them. I could not believe how warped it made my pool. I did 2 sealed pools. I picked the blue seeded pack, and I had so many blue cards in my pool from picking that pack that I literally had 4 cards that were white, 4 cards that were red. I think I had 5 cards that were black, 4 cards that were green. Everything else was blue. And I just ended up being mono blue. And then I did it again the next sealed pool with white. And I'm just like, oh my God, is this how sealed is in this format? I hate the seeded packs. Well, I hate them.
You get 2 packs. It's 2 seeded packs. It's not just one, which is why.
2?
And you're guaranteed. You're guaranteed to get certain, like whoever the face like uncommon is. And so I dabbled with sealed as well. I had 3 sealed tokens, and I was like, all right, let's burn these. Let's go. And I was shocked. There was never ever any doubt ever what what pack my opponent picked. Never. It was never a question. I also went up against Toph the Blind Bandit for like 60% of my matches. Like it was everybody picked green. Apparently.
Because
it was wild.
I don't know. I think that is, I get it. And again, it reminded me of it when you said, for new players, like I get it, like pre-release and there's going to be new players. You want to help them. Sealed's tricky. But at the same time, this is so like put the blinders on. Okay, I picked blue. The chance of you not playing the color that you picked for that seeded thing is 0. Like
pretty much,
the chance that you're going to be monocolored is actually very high. I wanted to say that, like, though, even in draft, I see a lot of monocolored decks in this format, way more than I've seen in almost any other format. I've been mono white, I've been mono red before. I've seen multiple. Mono white is the one I see the most because of White Lotus. Something White Lotus, where it's a 5-mana sorcery. It gives you 1/1 allies for each planes you control. There's that kind of pushing you to be mono. And then the black uncommon that you talked about, the corrupt 3/2 with lifelink, pushing you to be black.
Yep.
Yeah, like there's a couple cards like that, but that's not enough to really justify the number of times I'm seeing monocolored decks. I see a ton of monocolored decks, and I don't know why. Like it's I see more in this format than I've seen in any format that I can remember, going back to, like, I don't know, some core set maybe. But sealed, it's just Throne
of Eldraine, I remember, was like specifically designed so monocolor would be a theme. And like, so sure, but like, was that I think that's as far back as we gotta go if we're gonna see that.
And there's no mechanic that pushes you to be monocolored. There's 1 or 2 cards, but like, I think if you're playing Cat Gator or the White Lotus card, you want at least 10 basics of that color, like at least. But you don't need to be monocolored. I think if you're lucky enough, sure. I think it's people stretching. It's people playing some Garbo playables on the end, 23rd, 22nd card, just to keep themselves monocolored, when really they probably could easily be like, a 10-7 or 11-6 mana base, splash a couple red cards or whatever other color, and your deck's going to be better for it. You don't have to force mono, but I just see a lot of monocolored decks.
The one monocolor draft that I had, I ended up going mono black, and I'm pretty sure the reason I was able to do that, I don't feel like I was really stretching. Nobody was taking the
Good.
black cards. I got like 2 Judies.
Yeah,
I think
and that happens.
I got like I was the only black drafter of the entire table, and I was open to the idea of a second color the whole time. I just didn't need it, So
Yeah,
yeah,
that kind of thing happens in other formats. I just think
hmm
it happens way less than this
oh
format.
totally.
This format, it's happening like a lot, and it's weird. I can't
hmm
quite put my finger on what it is, but so anyway, some interesting things going on. I think it's a great limited format overall. I think you should enjoy it. If you haven't tried it yet, go to your local
Agreed.
game store, jump on
It's a lot of
Arena,
fun.
play some drafts. Do not play Jumpstart. That's the other PSA I've got to put out today. Jumpstart is totally
Oh,
bugged.
oh
Yeah, the
no.
midweek Magic event this week was Jumpstart, so I'm like, okay, let me see. It's avatar cards. Apparently, um, avatar the split mana cards in this set, the program, the client doesn't know how to handle. So, for example, when it asks you to pick from 3 packs of cards for your Jumpstart set, I picked a blue pack, just mono blue, and then the second one I picked was blue black. And when I got to deck building, I had 0 black cards in my deck. The only black quote unquote card that was in that pack was Messenger Raven or whatever, the Messenger Bird. That's a 3 mana 1/2 flyer ETB. Make a clue. It's 2 colorless and 1 blue black split mana. And because of
Huh.
that 1 blue black split pip, the Jumpstart, it showed it as a blue black pack. It had no black cards, but my mana base had 5 swamps in it, 4 dual lands that come into play tapped, and another like filter land. And I'm like, wait, what? So the
What?
mana, the algorithm that like apparently those Jumpstart packs don't have the lands in them. I don't know what they have in them, but Messenger Hawk
Yeah,
is
Messenger
the
Hawk, this
card that
guy.
was in there.
Yeah.
So apparently, and I go online, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I also read there's a couple packs that are not that are missing playables. So people put 2 Jumpstart packs together, and they end up with a deck with 27 lands in a 40 card deck because a bunch of the playables are missing. So it just autofills with lands. So there's
What?
a couple of red ones that are just bugged that the playables aren't showing up. The blue and the black one that I put together, the blue black pack specifically had 0 black cards, just Messenger Hawk, but it put a bunch of black mana into my mana base that I obviously didn't need because it doesn't know how to do split mana. It doesn't know how to work. It thinks it's a black card.
Wow.
So just stay away from Jumpstart. It's totally borked right now. There's a whole bunch of issues with it. Don't waste your tokens and your whatever. Maybe they'll release an update and then you can do that. For people who want to Jumpstart and build their collections or whatever. A lot of players, that's how they do it. Don't do it. Just wait. And I don't know when they're going to fix it, but it's unfortunate. Anyway, I'm just trying to, all the things I've noticed I don't want other people to have issues with that I've noticed
Right.
are
No, good
causing
call.
issues
Thank you.
on Arena with the set. I'm trying to think. I think that's it though. I would stay away from sealed. I found sealed to be a really poor experience with those seeded packs, and
Mhm.
don't do any Jumpstart. But the actual draft set is good, and I recommend it. So, um,
Agreed.
that's all I really have to say. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add about limited or the set or whatever, but
No, at the end of the day, I've been thoroughly enjoying it, and I recommend folks try it out. Exactly everything you just said. Yes, that.
right.
Yeah, good stuff.
Well, I have nothing more to add. I hope Standard, we have some big tournaments coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing how the metagame develops. I'm excited about that. And for those of you, I just want to throw this out at the end. The last month with VV ruining Standard and
hmm
Spider-Man being just a horrible limited format, Pick 2 is terrible as predicted. I've been playing a lot of other games, and I
Yeah,
know you have as well, which
I
I love to
have.
see.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys out there, I know a lot of Magic players stick to just Magic, but a lot of you guys out there do appreciate other games and have your other pet games that you love and genres.
hmm
Check out, Ham was streaming some Sea of Thieves this week, which I
Yep.
thought was awesome. It's a super
So
fun
much
game to
fun.
watch on stream and to play. And I
hmm
hope to join you at some point. We were
we
talking about
we
that
need to make
before
that
the
happen.
podcast.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well,
But
and
also, all the other games out there, yeah, check them out. There's so many great ones. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
well, and that's the thing. So I'm starting to do more variety stuff and more limited stuff. Like you'll notice. So I've been playing Standard as my primary way. Standard on Arena has been the primary engagement that I have with Magic for the last 5 years. It has been
Yeah.
like I've built my whole channel around it. It's been kind of the whole thing. And in the last couple of months, I've been genuinely burning out on it, like pretty hard.
Hmm.
And Vivi was a part of that. Spider-Man being kind of lackluster was a part of it. But like Avatar has shown up and like has made a splash and has had a lot of interesting designs. And you would think that would help kind of rejuvenate kind of my intrigue in it, but it really hasn't. Because at the end of the day, standard right now is a high power format. So for anybody out there who, like me, really enjoyed low powered standard, like I enjoyed slow constructed games where you could really like experiment and dabble. And right now it's just things are more powerful than ever, and they're going to continue to be more powerful in order to rotate a gigantic format. And so it almost feels like what modern was, and it's not the kind of experience that I personally enjoyed from standards past. If you're enjoying current standard, rock out, and don't let me bum you out. But yeah, rather than saying screw this, I'm done with Magic, I'm just deciding to play more limited and play other games while I'm still streaming, because I love streaming still. So yeah, twitch.tv/hammox42. I'm experimenting with other games. I'm doing Sea of Thieves. I've also done, I love doing classic like JRPGs and doing silly voiceovers for all the characters. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I do that too.
We're doing a playthrough of Final Fantasy IX right now, and I love it. And to the point where I'm a little sick right now, so getting started with like a heavy voiceover piece of content is probably a terrible idea at the moment until this clears up. But I'm planning on doing some of that and maybe getting it out on my YouTube channel as well, just because that kind of idea is just fun. And it's just, there's no reason that we can't continue. Like, Magic is a game. Games are designed to be fun. The moment it stops being fun, take a break, mix it up. You know, continue to have fun. That's the most important thing.
Well,
so yeah,
that's the healthy relationship with Magic that everybody should have. And I know over the years, a lot of players I know did not have a healthy relationship with Magic at certain points, including me. I think, you know, when I was playing super competitively and grinding and going to GPs and all that stuff, I started to get frustrated. You start to get emotionally attached to the results of your games. You really start beating yourself up because, you know, you did all that testing and you had this tight deck list and sideboard. But it's Magic, you know? You could just get unlucky a couple matches and burn that flame out of the tournament, and it takes a pro mentality to go, so what? 0-3 drop. I don't give a you know, beep.
Yeah.
I'm just out here to have fun, and I know how Magic works. I could win the Pro Tour and then next tournament flame out at 0-3. That happens all the time to the pros. The reason they're pros is because they don't beat themselves up when it does. And players who go, this guy just went, you know, X and 3 or whatever, his record's terrible, what a bad player. You're a noob. Like, you are the noob. Any experienced player knows that it's not a reflection on how good you are if you don't do well at your whatever the event is, the tournament, the standard showdown, the arena direct, whatever it is you're playing, wherever it is you're playing Magic. You know, you can't let that kind of thing bother you. But I know a lot of competitive players who, you know, they get so frustrated and then they really dislike the game and they have to like just get away from the game for a while. And that's what you should do, not because, you know, maybe you're getting emotionally attached to the results, but even if you're just not enjoying the dynamic in the format, like what you're describing, a healthy relationship with the game means being able to walk away from it and come back to it later. I've done this multiple times in my life with Magic. I've played it for 30 years. I've walked away from the game for periods, sold my whole collection, come back to the game. I did it again in 2020 when I moved back to Canada, got rid of my collection and got rid of everything, and didn't stream Magic initially. But like you, when I decided to push for partner, I basically went, okay, I'm just going to stream. I know what this takes. I'm going to stream one game and I'm going to stream one format. Sure enough, you know, you have over 100 people watching every single day and you get that, you know, partner and whatever. And now that that's done, and, you know, and I got a new computer, I can play other games that I wasn't able to play before and all this stuff. You know, I'm taking a step back a little bit as well. I still play Magic every day now that the banning's happened and the new set's out. But, you know, for those of you out there who all you do is consume Magic, I recommend, you know, switching it up, and it makes Magic better. When you take a little break from it, you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? You come back to the game and it's more fun because you haven't been grinding it for the last, you know, 6 days in a row or whatever. Like, take a couple days off. There's so many great games out there. I mean, the Game Awards just got announced this week as we're recording this. I'm not going to go through the list and talk about every game, but there's so many good games out there.
Maybe that's a bonus show sometime. We do, we do the variety. I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Sure.
Anyway,
I played all of them. I think I played all the games on the list except
sick.
Donkey Kong because I don't have a Switch. But yeah, there's and the Magic mentality, and this is where I love having Magic players in my channel when I'm playing these other games, because I like to play a lot of complicated games, deep games. I play them on the hardest difficulty. So you've got to think, you've got to be analytic, you've got to plan, you've got to strategize, resource management. These are all things we do already in Magic as Magic players. So a lot of the people in my channel, the guys and girls that are still hanging out when I'm not playing Magic, a lot of times they have great input on whatever game. Even if you don't play this game yourself, you can see how the mechanics work. It's even if it's not a TCG, it doesn't have to be, in other games, there are still synergies, strategies. And as a Magic player, so much of what you learn playing Magic is easy to apply to these other games. You oh my goodness, can do well in these other games. So I love it. And I like to see, yourself and other people on the team, playing other stuff. But for those listening, yeah, like play other stuff. Take a little break from Magic for 1 or 2 days. Like it's more fun coming back to the game after a little break, I find. But
100%.
Anyway,
well, and it's funny because I know like I'm taking a kind of a break from Standard right now, and I don't have a firm deadline as to when I come back, and except it's when I'm inspired. When a deck idea kind of hits me and like, okay, I need to chase that down, I'm going to. When that happens, because I know that will happen.
Right.
I know me. I know the way my brain works. When a certain idea hits, I'm going to be like, I'm obsessed with it and then have to create that deck. And I haven't felt that feeling in a while. And that's ultimately why I'm deciding to take the break. Yeah.
Well, and me too. I've been playing one deck for I want to say 3 months, because I kind of stopped playing around Vivi, but I was playing this Jeskai Black deck before rotation, and it was fun. And then rotation happened and EOE Final Fantasy drops, and then EOE, and I was still playing this deck, just adding cards, and it's just because it's a deck I like playing, right? I mean, that's the other thing. I think sometimes, all it takes is you finding one sweet deck that you love to play, and suddenly you're back, baby. You're playing Standard all the time, because this deck is a blast to play. Even if the wider format may not be that great or balanced or whatever, if there's a deck I love playing, I'll play. But if there's nothing, like right now, like you're saying, like there's not really anything that calls to me, and the format is whatever.
Like I've got a Smuggler Surprise Sin deck that I'm still enjoying, and maybe I could throw Badgermole Cub in that, and it might just do the same thing. I don't know, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've kind of created a brand about trying to find the next big thing and experimentation, and I don't feel a desire to experiment with these at the moment. And part of it too is I feel like things like the Bant Ally deck, that almost feels paint by numbers. Like I feel like they just designed the entire deck, and so I don't feel like I'm doing anything unique if I'm building that. Literally within and that's what I like to do, is trying to create something unique that you haven't seen before. That's what I'm always aspiring to do. Granted, there are a million players that are building decks on day one or even during previews. So the idea of me coming up with something truly original, that's preposterous. But at the same time, I don't know. There's something about, I don't know. During the early access, I played Standard for large portions of it. And literally by the second day, it was within 24 hours, the Bant Ally deck had a set 60 card list that I was going up against multiple times. Within 24 hours, there was a stale format in the early access. It was either that deck or decks that weren't featuring the new cards at all. Those were the only two decks I went up against, for the second day of early access. It sucked, dude.
Wow. Yeah, I just stuck to limited, but
good call. Imagine. And for future early access, I'm going to do exactly that, because I haven't I don't feel like the standard queues in early access are a good place to really experiment and showcase new stuff these days.
Yeah,
which sucks. But
right. Yeah. That's how I feel. I just didn't want to. I don't like saying anything because I know other people love to deck build and splash. I love doing my deck building in limited. Do it in limited. That is deck building. And I will. That's it is
absolutely. Yeah. And moving forward, I plan to do exactly that. Yeah.
And as an Avatar fan, I feel like if you're a fan of a specific Universes Beyond and you don't play limited, you're really hurting yourself in terms of your exposure to this awesome IP that you love, because all of the cards in the set, I mean, this is Magic, less than 5% of them are going to see play in Constructed. So yeah, you could take that Aang or take that whatever Katara and make your commander deck or make your standard deck or whatever, but you're still only going to have a few cards from Avatar in there. Playing limited lets you play with all the commons, with all the flavor and all the other stuff.
With and against,
don't
it's
you
all
want
of
to
it.
Do that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know. I prefer limited for my deck building, but I still obviously I like tweaking. I like seeing other people's great deck lists, and then I like iterating on them. So I like to wait for the big tournaments to happen and stuff. We haven't really seen that yet, so I'm still playing
Yeah.
the same deck I've been playing for months. But it's just what I enjoy. I don't have any interest
there's
in
nothing
playing
wrong
with the
with that.
Badger Mole Cub.
That's the other thing that I'm realizing. There's zero problem with that. There's nothing wrong with just jamming one deck and continuing to jam with it. Nothing wrong
Except
with
the people watching go, "Why you still play something else?" And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't like other decks. Well, and this deck's fun.
Funnily enough, I had kind of the inverse experience where like I spent like a week of just getting my teeth kicked in repeatedly trying to make these like goofy ideas happen and trying to force decks that weren't just the same crap you have already seen with like one or two new cards. Because I know people try to claim that as like, oh, I created this new deck because they added like one, one playset of something else. Like if it's playing the same play pattern, it's playing the same play pattern. Like, that just is what it is. So like I've been trying to force these like goofy, weird build arounds, and they just don't work. And I spent a week of like zero success, just like 30% win rate, awful. And on Friday, I finally just like I was like to the point where I almost like ended my stream like within the first 2 hours and like uninstalled Arena. I was getting so genuinely angry at trying to force this. And like that is the content that I've been making the entire time I've been on Twitch. That is my identity as a creator, and that is how I make my living. Like the pressure couldn't be higher, right? And so for that to just blow up in my face, and literally there was one Friday where I just said, screw all of this. My language was much more colorful on stream. Screw all of this. I deleted all of the decks that I had tried to make work that day, and I literally dusted off this thing from like 2 months ago that was this Smuggler Surprise Sin deck. And I was like, I remember having fun with this. Screw it. I'm just going to play this for a little bit. And sure enough, dropped out into best of 3, and I was hitting my, Origin or Esper Origins into the World Wagon with, Awaken the Honored Dead and like doing those loops. And I was just like, all right, cool. And, the first time that I like hit somebody with the Smuggler Surprise, dropping Leviathan in, bouncing their entire board and watching them scoop, it's like, oh, we're back, guys. All right.
That felt good.
Ooh, all right, I needed that. Oh, all right.
Nice. Yeah.
Like that deck wasn't new. My viewers had already seen that deck plenty. But it was just like, I'm going to have fun. And sure enough, like the reaction that I got was like, oh man, it's so good to see you smile again. It's like, all right, I need to chase the smile, not the new deck, And
don't pigeon yourself into like a whole like what you touched on there, where you're like, this is my brand, this is who I am, this is I have all this pressure. That's the red flag. As soon as I get to the point where I'm like, I feel like I'm pressured to do this, and I'm under like I'm my boss is looking over my shoulder, almost like the way I used to feel at working at a company or whatever, like that kind of pressure. That's when something is not right here. You shouldn't be operating under that kind of pressure when it's under duress.
Under duress, if you will. Yeah.
Brought duress up on the screen there for those listening. So I'm glad to hear that, you kind of realize, like, or step back, like your brand is you. That's your brand. It doesn't matter what game you're playing. It doesn't matter what format or what, I'm a deck builder or I'm not a deck builder or whatever. Even me, like I try and pride myself on telling people, like, I have a very competitive approach to this game. I've been competitive for a long time. I've been a student of the game for a long time. That's my approach. But does that mean I will never play Brawl or I will never play a Jumpstart deck? No, I'll play Jumpstart randomly for midweek Magic. I was just talked about how I was going to until it borked my deck. But and people will go, hey, I thought you only play competitive. It's like, no, I never said that. I that's my approach, but it doesn't mean I still can't have fun and play goofy Momir or whatever when it comes around, right? Just like for you, you don't have to constantly be deck building and trying to break things. Like that's not why people watch you. Some maybe, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's part of it. But like, and that has always been something I enjoyed, but like trying to break the format is really hard right now because it comes pre-broken.
Yeah.
This format has been absolutely shattered since the rotation change. And it just has been. And so like I enjoy operating in a stable environment and finding the way to do the cheaty nonsense. We're at a point where the cheaty nonsense is what everybody is doing. So like how in the world am I going to do something bigger and sexier and splashier than a consistent turn 4 omniscience?
Yeah, you're just gonna drive yourself crazy trying to
Exactly. It's
do
gonna
it,
like it's ridiculous. So
you know?
like the
And there
expectation that I've been setting was just not realistic. You know.
and there are people who embrace this. Like if you
Hmm.
and like what I'm trying to say is everybody's different. In
Yeah.
Ham's case, he's feeling like this is I don't feel comfortable. I feel like I'm under pressure and this is not like I'm not happy doing this, right? Other players are like Saffron Olive, okay? He does
Hmm.
the budget series. When he does those budget series, he goes into it knowing he's going to have a 30% win rate. He goes into it
Right.
knowing that he's going to be the underdog in almost every match. He's fine with that. He's decided to make that his brand or whatever. Even now, it's not even his brand anymore. It's kind of how he came up doing that stuff, but now he does all
Right.
kinds of other stuff as well.
I mean, one of his flagship
But
programs is literally called Against the Odds. Like, like,
yeah, like so I'm not
yeah,
saying you shouldn't do this. I'm saying if you do that, you should be doing it knowing that yeah, you're not going to win a lot of games. You're not going to have fun. Like for me, having fun
yeah.
isn't getting my butt handed to me over and over because I'm trying to do goofy stuff
Hmm.
but for other people that is their brand and so he's going to approach that and not feel that same issue with pressure and everything that you have and or me
Perhaps,
or whoever else.
but
So
I
everybody's
would,
different is what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I would be shocked if he hasn't had those days. I don't
Oh
know,
yeah,
but like,
probably. It's got to
you
feel
know,
miserable because he spends hours, right, coming up with the deck, and then just to get it falls apart. It doesn't go like the combo never works, and you're losing and losing and losing. Like it's got to feel bad, like you're making bad content or that you failed as a
hmm
content creator. If that was your aim, was to. So I get it. You're right. He probably feels that, and his kind of ability to just say, it is what
well,
it is. It
and
didn't work out this time. Let's try
and
again
that's
next week.
the pro mindset just as it comes to content
Yeah.
creation, being able to shrug that off. It's like, yeah, this deck, when I went to record it, all my matches, I went 0-5, but I had a couple of good jokes. We had a couple moments. So we had a couple games where we showed off and did a thing. We can turn that into a video. All right, cool. What's the next idea?
Yeah.
And like
And
for
you
me,
call
I'm trying to
it-
make competitive jank every day. And it's just like, that's
Yeah.
not a thing.
It gets
Yeah.
hard. It gets
It's
really
hard.
hard. But
Yeah.
it's the pro mindset. And I want people to understand it doesn't mean you're a pro. If you don't get tilted playing games of Magic, if you can walk away from Magic and be totally fine, you're closer to the pro mindset than a much more competitive player who's top 8 at an RC, who is whatever, but who tilts, who really gets emotionally attached to the results of their games, who, values themselves based on their results at Magic tournaments. They are further from the pro mindset than you are, who has no big titles to your name, people
Yeah.
listening out there. If you are the kind of person who can stay mentally focused, that is the mark of a truly experienced card game player. Just like poker, just like many other games I used to play a lot, the mark between a person who really is in the right headspace versus somebody who knows all the chip tricks and who can do all these other fancy things and who looks the part, but when they tilt and I just go, okay, dude, yeah, that is amateur mentality.
Uh-huh.
Okay, like even though sometimes you've done well in tournaments in the past, you gotta either work on that or be able to step away from the game a little bit if it's not, you find yourself tilting and you can't control it. But man, there's so many players who just keep going. Like it's like a gambler who loses their money and wants to put more money in to try and win their money back. It's like somebody tilts at a tournament and then they just, okay, I gotta just be even more focused, and they just put more pressure on themselves after. It's a downward spiral almost.
100%.
The real pros do not. They go 0-3. Look at LSV. He'll put up a video of whatever draft. I think one of his. I glanced at one of his avatar drafts, and he went 0-3. He drafted a white black deck, went 0-3. He's like, yeah, well, all right, this is bad, and this did not work out, and whatever, and that's it. He's a pro because of that, not because he's won a bunch of pro tours and is in the Hall of Fame, but his mentality when it comes to losing, he knows that because he's in the Hall of Fame, it doesn't mean he's entitled to win every game of Magic that he plays. That's not how this works. That's what I mean. Anyway, I
100%.
digress, but it's
yes,
a valuable thing
all
to
of
talk
that.
about because
Yeah.
I think a lot of players don't think about it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I know no matter how much work I put in, I probably will not have any kind of like crazy pro career. I know people have asked like, "Oh, are you going to go for like a full spike arc?" Sometimes, like, if we get to a point where like standard is in a good space, or like maybe if Pioneer comes back or whatever, if there's an environment where I'm having fun, the idea of like really prepping and really going after like a spotlight series or something, sure, I could. That would be interesting, and I would definitely be. I'm open to that idea, but like I know if like the stars align and something crazy happens and I get my hands on a Pro Tour invite, it'll probably be a one and done deal for me because I do get emotionally invested. And like if I have a bad time, I'm gonna feel it and I'm gonna dwell on it and it's gonna live with me. And it's like, so the moment the bad loss happens, the chance of me being able to bounce back, it's gonna be tough. Like, that will be difficult for me. I'm not saying I can't do it, but like I know that I'm not built like that.
I understand. Yeah.
You know, but as a result, I have big animated reactions when crazy things happen, and that can be entertaining to watch on stream. So I hope that that's part of the reason why, you know, that's been somewhat successful. But yeah.
And I tell people not to tilt, and sometimes you'll see me going, "What? They drew it off the top 2 in a row? Like, how is this possible?" You know, like this kind of thing.
Yeah, they only had one card. It was that.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's okay to still be like, "Oh my god," in the moment, and be like, "I can't believe I drew 8 lands in a row." Like, you can complain. I'm not saying, like,
totally,
don't complain. You can complain, but then you just go, well, bad luck. Damn. Okay, on to the next game or whatever, on to the next draft. You know?
Yeah, but I know for me, part of as I've been burning out, I've been feeling like, oh, of course they have it. They always have it. And that's and it's not true. Yeah. That's all in my dangerous head. You know, and it's and that's a sign of like I'm not letting this go. You know, I'm not able to move on and accept, because like at the same time, like when things do go my way and when I do smash a game and we move on to the next one, that I don't register that in the same way. You know,
the opposite, yeah.
And so it becomes this confirmation, like self-fulfilling prophecy thing. It's like it's not healthy. It's a really unhealthy spiral that I know I fall into, and I suspect listeners out there, I'm assuming that somebody can identify with that, because I think we've all been there at some point or another. If you haven't, holy cow. Like I remember, teach me. But
you know, I'd like to see you try, and you were talking about trying to spike a tournament or whatever, because that's the bite. Once it bites you, that's that competitive bug. If you did do well at that one event that you went into, like the feeling
if I got
is
that
so good.
I don't
Winning
doubt
on the ladder is whatever. You win in a real life tournament or top eight, some big tournament. Oh my God. Like it sears itself into your memory. The big tournaments that I've won, or I've gotten tons of prizes because I finished in the top 4, we split or whatever. I can tell you the deck I played. I can even recall some of the matches. Like the really good performances are just seared into your brain.
That's cool.
The bug that hooks you, and then you're a competitive player, and you just want to play tournaments now all the time.
I would love to, because like at MagicCon Atlanta, I brought a standard deck, and we did have, you know, MagicJank put on a tournament that we hosted on Jaffer's channel, and I played in that, and I got through the first 2 rounds, and then got smoked by a Just Got Black control deck, which but it was. Actually, no. It was I made it past 1 round. There was a relatively small group. But in the first match, it was Insidious Roots with Ouroboros was the deck that I brought, which is a weird setup, but it worked. And my first match was against another Insidious Roots deck, which like, what were the chances of that in like this 15-person tournament? Like, you know, the Roots mirror in
bizarre.
round 1. It was very fun. But
you're probably the most experienced Roots player there, I would say. You've been playing that for a long time.
That gentleman had a lot of thoughts. He was on a Jund variant. I was on straight Golgari, and we, you know, and it was funny. He was absolutely correct. I managed to squeak out barely 2-1, but every game was tight and came down to the wire. He played brilliantly, and I got very lucky with a couple of top decks. But it was fun. His analysis at the end was absolutely correct. He said, "My deck is designed to beat Vivi. His deck is designed to make fun content on the ladder." It's like, yes, you're correct. Exactly. And I hit him with a cease desist in game 1 and blew out 2 of Insidious Roots.
Ooh,
he actually said, "Dude, in game 1, I have a 1 of in the main," and he was like, "Dude, you are crazy." Like, correct.
Yeah, game.
Yes,
main
I am.
Deck cease. Oh, okay.
Yep.
This is that's the player that frustrates me, because I will run into decks like that, and I will lose to decks like that because I'm like, God,
how did you? Why were you? Yeah.
What is this doing in his main deck? Like, I can't beat that. Yeah,
well,
it's
because
very frustrating, right?
The reason that this is in my main deck is because Cease, the 2-mana instant, is Grave Fade on my opponent and can trigger my Roots. And so, the 2-drop mode actually is uniquely not dead in a Roots deck, and so it's not great.
Well,
like it's but it's not dead.
I mean,
and it's good against
Vivi.
Vivi. Exactly.
Vivi then, right? Because you eat their Vivi before they can cauldron it. Blah blah blah. Maybe you desist, blow up cauldrons. I don't know. Maybe, if that probably not, because you're blowing up your own Roots, right?
No, but like,
you're probably
if you have the Roots down. But honestly, there were plenty of times where, like, if I had one Roots down, I would just sandbag the other one, knowing that I was going to desist. But honestly, the reason that it's in there, literally, It was because on the ladder, I was sick of getting blown out by the Simulacrum Synthesizer deck. It was my worst matchup. And so, like, one of these in the main, one in the side, and now all of a sudden, I'm not losing that matchup anymore. Like, just straight up.
Oh, like, you just reminded me, actually. Yeah. Desist is great against that deck. The other
really
card
solid.
that, you mentioned the Artifacts deck, Ultima, has always been, I think it's the new Sunfall, right? It is the go-to Wrath, I think, for my white control decks. And with Avatar hitting the scene, it's even more relevant because Earthbend, the lands don't go back to their hand. You get to blow up a bunch of the lands that stupid Badger Mole makes, and they don't go back to hand because the turn ends. Not only that, like Ultima being good against Artifacts, Ultima being good against Enduring Curiosity, like there's a bunch of, this has just been such a house. Yeah, I played a few matches with Jeskai Black, and I've got a couple of Ultimas, and I'm playing one Day of Judgment just to have one cheaper sweeper, but I think I might even go to 3 Ultima. It's been brutal against people doing earthbending and stuff. They're just KO'd because they lose all their lands. Like they just strip mines all the lands they turned into creatures, right?
That's amazing.
So anyway, just I had when you said cease desist the artifact deck, I'm like, oh yeah, Ultima's great now. I've got to mention.
Good shout.
That. But
yeah, I hadn't considered that with Earthbend. That's amazing. Anyway, love it. Oh.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else to talk about. If we want to bring it in for landing,
this has been a hefty one. Yeah. It's funny. We were talking about the monocolor draft, and okay. One question of the week, random piece of trivia. I'm just curious about if you can recall. Okay. There were a number of mechanics in Throne of Eldraine, and there was one that most folks have completely forgotten about. I'm curious. Like, can you remember? There is a mechanic in Throne of Eldraine that specifically encouraged monocolor decks. Can you remember the keyword on it?
It starts with an A.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold on. Addendum, not addendum. That was something from like Ravnica.
That was a Ravnica, yeah.
Oh, I can see it on the card,
so
like the.
Close. The popular one that saw some play was like. Yeah, a popular card with it that saw some play with Slaying Fire. It's Adamant. You were so close. It was right.
Adamant.
It's Adamant.
Did I say adamantium? Adamantium?
Yeah, you were like,
yeah.
It was.
Oh, I thought I knew it. Okay, I was close. Yeah, anyway, Adamant. Yeah.
I just find it funny because I know it's one of the most forgettable keyword mechanics they've ever made, and Yeah, for those not familiar,
it's
not bad. The idea was it was basically a kicker that would fire on an ability or on a spell that had generic in the casting cost if a certain color was spent on it. Like Slaying Fire, for example, was an instant for 2 into red. It deals 3 damage to any target, but Adamant, if you spent 3 red on it, it dealt 4 instead. So it was like a kicker you don't have to spend extra for, you just have to spend certain colors on. And it was interesting. Yeah.
It was cool. I think it was weird. Throne of Eldraine was a really good limited format, but this kind of mechanic almost makes me think, oh, that's not a great mechanic for limited because it forces people to be monocolored, and that's going to be weird, right? If everybody's like pushing into one color or another. But it actually didn't work out that way. Like people still played, multiple colors. Sometimes there were monocolored decks, but a lot of times it just made for an interesting tension because a lot of the Adamant was on creatures where it said if you play this you don't have to play it for triple blue. It's like 1 blue, 3 colorless or whatever. But if you play it with 3 blue, you get a counter, or it does something. It comes in with some ability or whatever, right?
Right.
So I thought it was pretty cool. Definitely interesting. I don't know if we'll ever see that come back, but
I'd be shocked.
Because I'm not sure. It's the dynamic. I think it's a risky one because it kind of encourages very weird drafting and people but that's not what happened. So it ended up working out. Like nobody people drafting just one color. It wasn't that common, even despite this ability being everywhere. This mechanic.
Yeah, I feel like in general, designs that narrow players' focuses are something that they're trying to avoid these days. Whereas, in the past they were a little bit more open to that. Like the idea of a monocolor set is interesting, but I'll be surprised. I think nowadays they're more interested in trying to make like 3 colors playable, or fixing and splashing to allow people to get a little looser with it.
Yeah,
which I think ultimately does make them more fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. I think dual lands at common should be in every limited set. Avatar's got them, and it feels good.
It's so good.
Doesn't mean I still haven't seen a 5-color control deck or something, a 5-color soup deck in Avatar like we saw in Tarkir and other formats. But just being able to splash and stuff, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
So anything else coming down the pipe before the holidays?
Well, I know.
Any big news?
So ultimately not really too much. I know for me, I'm planning on doing a especially large stream on Thanksgiving. Honestly, and I'm planning on it. I'm hesitating saying that it'll be 24
Wait.
hours, but there's a non-zero chance it'll be 24 hours.
When is Thanksgiving? Is that
Thanksgiving here in the States is this upcoming Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah.
this next weekend. Okay.
This upcoming
Black
Thursday
Friday.
as of this recording is Thursday
Right.
Thursday is Thanksgiving, then there's Black Friday. And I know I have some plans in the morning on Thanksgiving Day, but then after that, so like starting around noon or 1 o'clock, and just roll into Friday is my plan. Going hard.
I love it. I love it.
And I'm trying to think of other, like, we may start with some drafts. We may start with some Avatar drafts, but there's a non-zero chance. Another game that I've been meaning to get to that I have is Inscription. I've never played it, and apparently it's like 8 to 12 hours.
Awesome.
And I figured just starting from the top and just going.
You'll love it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard nothing but good things. So, yeah.
Yeah, card game. Like if you already play Magic, it's going to be kind of up your alley. And really, really good game. A lot of people want to see a sequel to that game come out, but no news on that front.
Excellent.
But,
well, hopefully I'll be screaming
Enjoy
for that next week. So yeah, after I play this first one. But yeah, what about you? Anything big coming up?
We just did our 24-hour stream for Avatar, so not doing another one of those for a while. But no, I think I'll be doing a little bit of a live stream from my parents' place. I'm going to be spending Christmas at least 4 or 5 days at their place. They live in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, so just about a 5-hour drive from me.
Nice.
And it's beautiful up there. So I'm going to try and do a nice, like we're going to go snowshoeing, and I'll try and do a live stream. I tried to do this once during my first year of streaming. I did a few different live streams. And it's tough because you get up into the mountains and there's no internet. So I can't, the stream, I'm walking with the thing and we're streaming and then it just cut off. And I'm like, wait, what? And I realized, oh, my phone, I have no internet up here? Oh, no.
Yeah, you left the house's Wi-Fi range. You're done. Yep.
I don't know what I'm going to have to do. So we'll figure it out. Maybe we won't go so deep into the backwoods this time. But, Neo loves it up there. So we're going to bring him up. The last thing I will mention, though, that I do have coming up, I can't talk about. There's a secret project in the works for those of you listening. It is exciting. I will say that. It is probably going to be the most exciting thing I've been involved with for quite a while. It is Magic related. I can't really say too much more right now, but we're planning on launching this thing in the new year. It's going to be probably January. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing this on MagicJank, on this very podcast, on the socials and my channel and stuff. I hope the other team members mention it. I'm really excited about it. I can't say too much more right now, but we're in the works. We're going to be announcing some stuff hopefully by the end of the year, getting ready to roll in January. And I think the people listening right now, I think a lot of people are going to love this. It's competitive Magic focused. I'll say that. So for people who aren't so competitive, maybe it's not right up your alley, but it doesn't matter if you're not competitive or not. If you want, I'm trying to think of how I can say this without giving anything away. If you want to level up
at the
your
end of
Magic game,
If this is what I think it is, if you thought, man, this was a cool show. I wish there was more stuff about competitive limited.
We could go deeper on this.
Yeah. So. Please consider yourself teased because it is incredibly exciting.
It's going to be big news. I think in the wider Magic world, it's going to be even big news. Anyway, I won't say any more now. Stay tuned for that. We'll be announcing more over the next probably next month, not this month, but sometime in December. I might
stay tuned.
Put out something, but it's going to be great. So that's coming up. I'm excited about that. But that's really it. And then Christmas, and then, looking forward to Lorwyn. Can't wait to get the full set of shocks into standard. Hopefully that'll be nice. And then we can maybe start building real mana bases.
Well, until
a lot of the
rotate,
decks, even,
but yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't know how, because they're not all going to rotate at the same time now.
No, they're not. They're all off kilter now. Yep.
Yeah, well, anyway, we'll see how that goes.
2026
is going to be a wild year for Magic. 7 sets. We've got some big IPs, Universes Beyond IPs. Lorwyn's a big one. I really hope the limited format's good, because I missed Lorwyn limited the first time it came around, and I heard so many good things. And I just wasn't playing Magic at that time. I came right after that. It was still legal in standard. Like Fairies was a standard deck right when I kind of came back to the game. But anyway, so that's all coming. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. I hope you enjoyed the show. And that's it, right?
Heck yeah.
Got to wrap it up.
All right. We'll catch you on the next one, everybody. Take it easy. Later.
Bye.